If we are recording, you are all right. Welcome everyone to our last Park and Rec meeting of the year 2023. I would like to open the December 20th meeting. It is 6:03 and open our regular board meeting. I believe we might have some people here for public comment. Welcome.
I think we do. Just in order to come, I want to go left or right. Does that works for you? Susie, if you want to, you have 3 minutes or long.
Praise good. Okay, hi, my name is Susie Reynolds. I want to introduce myself before the next board meeting where I'll be presenting a proposal to install a wind phone along one of the Truston trails. A wind phone is something that originated in Japan after the tsunami took so many lives. People wanted a place to go speak with their loved ones that they lost in the disaster. This idea has spread across the world and I would like to bring it to South Whitby. I'm in the fundraising stages now, working on a professional rendering of the structure, gathering supplies, talking to people about the project. In 2021, my son Daniel was born and he died a week later from brain damage sustained during delivery. It's in his memory that, in honor, that I wanted to take on this project, to give everyone on South Whitby a private, beautiful, and serene place to go to speak with their loved ones who have died. None of us are immune from grief or death, and I know this will be a beautiful addition to our trail system. I look forward to presenting a detailed proposal next month. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Susie. Appreciate it. Thanks. Did you want to?
Next month. I just have a question.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, why Trusland Trails? Or have you considered other locations within the park district or just other trail systems on Whitby? Like, is there something specific to that place
it's
for you?
very accessible. I actually walked it with Brian and Tom just a couple weeks ago and pointed out a beautiful place that would be accessible to pretty much anybody, and that's important to me too, that people can get to it.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello, commissioners. My name is Martin Coombe. This is Annie McKenna. We represent South Whitby Soccer Club, and we're here to talk about a policy. I believe it's on your record regarding charging an hourly fee for our competitive teams to use the fields, a field use fee. I believe it's been on your policy. It's been a policy for a long time, but it's never been enforced. And we just got notice recently that Parks and Rec want to now start charging us. So I'm just going to raise 2 points about that enforcement. Our select teams, we had select teams in the past, and then COVID took them apart and was slowly building them back up again. Select, if you're not familiar, we have two programs, Rec and Select. Select, the difference is we have a tryout beforehand. Generally, with the numbers on South Whitby, we don't have a luxury of 100 kids showing up to a tryout. We have to cut a bunch. Normally, everyone that shows up is put on the team, and if we have one or two too many, we try and keep them involved so they stay with the program. If we lose a soccer player on South Whitby, generally we can lose them forever. So we try and keep them playing at all times. So we try. My first point is the cost of $15 an hour. We kind of ran some numbers with a select team, and normally a select team is anywhere between our roster between 11 and 18. The sweet spot is about 15 to 18 players. So we ran some numbers on this $15 an hour, and for the fees that we anticipate, it could raise our club fee by about 30% or anything up to 30%, and that may have a detrimental effect. We may lose players, maybe 1 or 2, but because our numbers are so slim sometimes, we don't want to lose any players. So we're concerned that it could potentially have players drop out. And we do have financial aid programs, assistance inside the club, but really that's just drawing resources from one side of the club over to the other to keep people playing. We can do that in the short term, but it's not sustainable in the long term. And the second point is because it's an hourly fee, and we would probably then have to monitor our our teams out onto the fields, keep track of all the teams playing at all times. And then we're not sure if we're going to have the manpower to keep track of that. And then there's also a problem that practices can change. Practices get cancelled. Sometimes the tournament will come along. They want extra practices. So we're juggling now. How do we charge that back to parents? The club can take some risks, but we really don't want to take a whole lot of risk on unknown factors. So if this policy can be altered in any way, we would much prefer maybe a flat fee approach so that we can pass that back to our parents before we go out registration. So those are the 2 points I'd like to make. So, and if you want to.
Well, like what he's saying, like flat fee, meaning like a per team per season paid at the beginning so that the parents know ahead of time what they're getting to, and it doesn't fluctuate, like he said. The thing that I wanted to talk about was just that sort of why select is a good thing and why it's something that we should want as a community. And I think it's different here. Select programs over in a more highly populated area bring kids from all over, multiple different high schools coming together. And ours is much different than that. It's all South Woodby kids. And so if we can give these kids a program from, U12, U14, young, and then moving into the high school system, it can really help bolster the high school program, which I think brings, it's good for the community, it's good for the kids in the high school. I don't know if you went to high school with, sports can bring a school together. And so I think that's just, there's more reciprocity in this program, I think, in our community than maybe larger communities, which is why maybe we should care about it. It's not why we care about select soccer. Like, it's just a thing, if kids want to pay for it, do it. But I think our situation is slightly different. But also just giving these kids right now, rec basically ends at U12. We have a U15 co-ed thing, but it's mostly like a band-aid on a thing. We're just kind of like, here, this is better than nothing. As a mom who has a U8 boy who's really serious about soccer, I want to give him all the opportunities that a kid from a bigger town would have. And he wants to play in college. I hope he could do that. Who knows? But we have some awesome players coming up and coming out. I currently coach UA, but see a lot of, as the coaching director, see a lot of these kids. We have good players, like really good players that deserve to go get higher competition if that's what they want, and their parents are willing to sign up for that. So I just think but it is a huge commitment from parents, and so any roadblock we can take out of the way for families, and this being a financial one, I think is really helpful, and it's really felt by the families. So that's, I think, my point is just why we should care about this and hope that we can still provide it as a community.
And just for a quick piece of context, the fees are established by the board, so this can be an agenda item in January where we can look at the fees and have a conversation about what they're proposing. I have agreed not to charge them any fees until the board's had a chance to speak, just because this was passed by a previous board and I couldn't even find a year. So they're not currently being charged until the board has a chance to speak to it. So.
And when does the select season start on an annual basis? Or is it, I understand it's probably year round kind of, but
Well, yeah,
like when would this come up for a family with tryouts, that kind of thing?
right now we've got 3 team, 2 developmental, which is a stepping stone from rec up to select. They are running sort of January through to the end of March, and we've also got them selecting the U17 girls.
Yeah, they're trying to put that. Yeah.
But that's normally tryouts are in May, and then it's the full season, as in September, October through early December. That's generally the season.
That one select team, not the developmental team, is going much longer.
Yeah, it's just started though. Yeah, I think it's select developmental right now. Yeah, they are playing. I think they played at the high school this weekend, just gone. So they do, they're in, yeah,
They do, select plays longer than, is that your question?
Yeah,
Like
that's my
developmental.
question. I'm trying to get a read on, you said January through March, like developmental, right?
Yeah, it's developmental, more of a 6-week sort of mini season, if you could,
yeah.
if you would, and then select generally is like a 12-game longer season. So, and a lot of the select, it
Without
overlaps.
year round.
No. Well, no, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get a read on.
There's kind of 2 seasons,
Because I know
right?
they
Yeah.
play soccer. more.
Yeah, there's one that kind of starts in the winter and then one that starts in the fall.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So May would be your next tryout window for.
for select, yeah, but the 2 teams we've just started right now, we kind of, what do we charge these people? I'm not sure what our exposure
Sure.
as the club is with this fee. Because it kind of just dropped in our lap. It's
Right.
oh. this-
And they'll go till, when those teams will go till May.
The 2 development teams will be, I think, the first week of April. I think just before spring, correct?
Got it, okay.
It's short, that one.
Yeah,
Got it.
as I said, it's a stepping stone. It's to give parents and players an idea of what a full select program is like. They have tryouts as well, whereas rec is, there's no tryouts. You sign up, you're in,
If we can get coaches.
you're gonna get coaches.
One more question. You mentioned, and I hadn't thought about this, but like tournament play, you could have a select team potentially that is out of their season, they'd like to play in a tournament, and thus they would like to have practices. So I'm trying to think of a fee schedule, based on the fee schedule that we end up discussing, how that would play out.
We,
Yeah.
If you understand my question.
Yeah.
So you have a tournament that's off season.
Yeah.
You want to use the fields,
yeah,
you get charged
Yeah,
monthly, weekly, or whatever we come up with.
right now, if the hourly fee, we would struggle because we don't know, they don't know which
I get that.
tournaments, which tournaments. they're
well, you're saying like if we charge you, if we pay the season fee, how are you gonna charge us
Exactly.
if for
Or if it was like-
bonus use?
Right.
Yeah.
So now you've got a team that's playing in June.
Yeah.
But.
Well, they could potentially they could request a certain number of hours and then, I don't know. I mean, it
Yeah.
has to be a separate,
You're talking, but you're talking about select is May, October, only tournaments you're gonna be playing is summer tournaments, right?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, or like late.
Contained season. It's not like there's gonna be a January tournament.
no, not really.
Right.
They're going right now. There was
just a big I think there's,
tournament.
correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there, you.
Okay, but
There was the turkey shoot, like just happened. That's one one of our teams.
I'm just
participated
potentially
in that.
seeing a coach say, hey, I need some practice time, which I
Yeah.
totally get, right? I just wanna.
How do you add on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's, well, good January conversation. It sounds clearly, I'm hearing a clear vibe that you guys want to have this conversation in January. So
Yeah, and I'm just asking questions.
Sure.
Absolutely.
and so we'll add that to the agenda.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
thank you
much.
guys. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lewis.
And you definitely don't have to hang out for the rest of the.
Yeah.
Well,
You guys sign in on that?
We did, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susie. Great job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We did have, I'm just gonna ask if she wants to make a public comment, Marnie.
No.
It's never been, online.
Oh, yeah.
Marnie, are you there? Would you like to make a public comment?
Hi, I don't know if, can you hear me?
We can, yes.
I just came in, so I didn't even hear what that was, sorry.
We're just finishing public comment time. So
Okay.
I was just asking. You want to make a comment? You're just listening. Okay,
No,
excellent. Welcome. Okay.
All right.
Any public comment? Dr.?
Public comments. All right, the swearing in of one Crystal Locher.
I think we should stay.
So.
Repeating after me. Sure, okay. I, Krista Lorsher, do solemnly swear.
I, Crystal Orchard, do solemnly swear
That I'm a citizen of the United States and of the state of Washington.
that I'm a citizen of the United States and the state of Washington,
That I am legally qualified to assume the office
that I am legally qualified to assume the office
of South Whitby Parks and Recreation District
of South Whitby Parks and Recreation District,
Commissioner, Position 1.
Commissioner, Position 1.
That I will support the Constitution and laws
that I will support the Constitution and laws
of the United States and the state of Washington,
of the United States and the state of Washington,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
the duties of this office to the best of my ability.
the duties of this office to the best of my abilities.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start shooting 4 more years. We'll get Jennifer either to come into the office, or maybe if she wants to do January's meeting, we'll have her do that.
I
We
just
need
like
to
to say
sign,
public,
right?
Yes, she needs to know.
Okay.
I can say publicly as well, I'm really thrilled that both Krista and Jennifer have decided to do more, as I value you guys greatly. So I think that's just awesome. Thank you. All right, moving on to the approval minutes. Has everyone read the minutes?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Now, I don't,
I
further,
will make a motion to.
I was gonna say, further discussion, no further discussion? Do I have a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the November 2023 meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, the minutes for the 11:15 meeting have been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Krista, I.
Jake, I.
Eric, aye. All those opposed say nay. Yep, the ayes have it. Approval minutes is done. Treasurer's report.
Okay, you can see the treasurer's report on the board and in the meeting environment, hopefully. Orientation favorable is up in all cases. Revenue on top, expenses on the bottom, and the cumulative line. These are all cumulative values. The green line is actual, darker green line is budget. So we are favorable to budget above the line, roughly 197,000 as of end of November. Next slide, you'll see how it's apportioned. So revenue, it's represents about 19,000 of that. You can see that's favorability coming from programs. Again, these are cumulative, so cumulative programs are roughly 20K favorable, where levy is unfavorable by about 18K. Then looking at expenses next, you can see it's 178 remaining of that favorability is in expense control. You can see admin is the primary there that we know that was driven from, and then that is 197. The next slide shows the fund balances and fund balances on plan as of end of November. Any questions before we move to the vouchers? You have the vouchers you can pull up. Get right.
Right,
It is.
I had just a couple of questions.
Is that the latest one? Hang on.
It is. Yeah, see the stars there we're getting to that. These are the stars indicate changes from what you received on Friday.
Just and what's the total at the bottom before we get to the, sure. Sorry, I want to make sure.
So it's 258, yeah, 258, 207, go through.
So that's different.
Yeah, that's different. We've showed 261, 620, 29.
You show more.
Probably what was that?
And
Review on something?
Does that list the transfer at the bottom? Oh, okay, I'm sorry, you're looking at the wrong thing, guys.
It says, well,
You're looking at there, sorry, yes, that is for later discussion.
I have a 256, 613 things from Friday.
Okay, that's not the right line.
That's not correct.
yeah, so
Below that, Jake, thing. I'm sorry, did you print? I printed that, I thought you brought the,
copy of the we sent
Current
out.
vouchers, no, the one from today,
This is the one, this is the last one that he. wanted to forward.
right, that, I believe is correct, but what is in front of you,
Sent on Friday.
that's what was sent Friday.
Yeah, I'm sure they were gonna influence them.
Okay,
No, this is today.
This is 306.
Yeah.
So,
Cause that.
not
No, that's-
for discussion at a later
This is the
time.
later date.
Do you
So I
have
don't-
another
there-
one that looks like this?
I've not.
Oh, I thought it came in here. Okay.
No.
Oh, I see the issue. They don't have that.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, we can.
Let me give you the long story short. A couple days ago, Carrie realized that our accounting system can generate this report and keep her from spending 2 hours transferring numbers by hand that she's had to do. So I think what's in their packet is a copy of what that report would look like. Is that what I'm seeing?
that's what you're looking at right there, but it's not correct.
Because it was meant to be put in there as a, this is what's coming, this is the format of what's coming in the future.
Yes,
So sorry for the confusion,
okay.
but the numbers there are not,
Separate discussion item, yeah.
are not the accurate numbers.
And I'm sorry, I printed out the latest voucher, but it's probably back on the printer or something
Gotcha.
like that.
But we can walk
You
in.
can go. for it.
So, okay.
And what was sent on Friday was the older version of this. And the only thing that has changed is the start.
Right.
So, and which are highlighted nicely in orange. So payroll, the first couple things obviously changed. Tom bought some vehicle parts. The Delta dentist, Christy, Orara is the, one of the dog instructors. So she was paid, Hanson was added for some supplies. Carrie had some reimbursement for miles and for SEBO purchase. One of the big things that happened this month was the septic service. It's never been that high. And so that would be something that normally we would have brought before you guys for approval. We didn't know, it blew us out that it was 5,600. So that was a big ticket item that went above, but they'd already done the work by the time we actually got the invoice. So in the future, we'll get the quote ahead of time, but it's a company that we've used regularly.
Did they explain why there was such a difference?
Yeah.
Uses that, we had to pump every septic tank up in the same year. We've never had to have to do that. We've usually, it's kind of like the one by the playground, the tank is like 2,500 gallons. That one's usually every 2 to 3 years. Like the one between the Little League fields, that one has been every year, every other year. It all hit that our usage is up so much that everything had to pump this year.
Okay.
So just, that alone was like $4,400 just for the pumping of the tanks.
Yeah.
And then the other thing we have going on is, the other part of that bill, separate. He borrowed a back truck and basically a pressure washer and a back truck to excavate around our septic tank odds. So we have drain fields. We have 3 drain fields up on the hill. There are 4 manual valves that operate two pods at one time. And then there's an electric mechanical valve that switches back and forth. So 4 times a day it'll dose to that one, it'll dose to that one. That stopped working this year. And so we were kind of waiting till the end of the year. And so he excavated that whole area with the back truck. Really the only way you could do it without breaking pipes and the wire and everything. You got major root intrusion, cedar and fir roots that are completely grown in there. And repair will be in the next year's budget, but we're working on how to fix that. So we thought it was the valve, the actual electric valve. It may be a control drop. So that's a quick explanation of
No, okay, thank you.
that whole process. So.
And that's why we didn't get in front of you last month for approval, because we didn't think it was gonna be that much.
Yeah.
Surprised me.
What's that?
3 tanks?
No, there are.
It sounds like there needs to be a little budget entry change on the budget for next year. If you
If it needs to
prior,
happen, yeah,
it sounds like
right.
at least some of it.
Yeah, to compensate, and the repair of this thing's gonna cost a few dollars too. So,
Right. But
And in the past, you didn't have to do all 5 tanks.
You know, we have one at the maintenance facility as well. That one didn't need to be pumped. I mean, there's only 3 of us. And so that use is real low, but that's never really a problem. But yeah, it's never been like.
Good. That's part of the staff report too. Other purchases, just the new blue shield, SIBOs again. Couple interesting ones. I signed up, me and Carrie both signed up for some trainings. We had some training money left over, so I signed up for a couple NRPA, has some nice aquatic management and aquatic facility training. So, and then Carrie found a nice finance training she's going to do. So, those are some of the new invoices that have happened since that was sent out. And then again, sorry for the confusion on that.
I saw something about like a heater, mini heater, what was it? Not in this. A mini,
Roland.
and I was just wondering where and how that was.
Heat lamp,
Maybe that's.
With my,
heat lamp for SIBOs.
with probably my hot water tank.
Maybe that's what it was.
Install and provide mini tank heater on page 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was it. I was just wondering where.
So my maintenance building, after 10 years of not having hot water, I finally had that installed after a rat shoot through the water pipe and developed a water leak in that area. We had roughed it in years ago to install it. While they were out, I said, it was nice to wash your hands with warm water.
That time of year, yes.
It is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Killed the germs much better.
We're used to germs, that's not the problem.
Taking me back to Mrs. Sizer's 7th grade home ec class. Hot water cuts germs.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. So that is the invoices or the vouchers, excuse me.
Any other, if there are no other questions on the vouchers, I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers in the amount of $258,207.03.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the voucher listing at $258,207.03. All those approving this voucher, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Krista, I.
Jake, aye. Eric, aye. All those not approving of the voucher, say nay. The ayes have it and the voucher is approved. Moving on to staff report.
All right, well, recreation / programs, polar bear dive is on at noon. You can go jump in double bluff before you watch the Husky game. So that's happening this year. Youth basketball registration is going really well. First time we've had 5th and 6th grade since the pandemic. So it's nice to be running full capacity again. Junior cheer also starting up in January. So winter programming is going. This guy's looking for a basketball coordinator, 8 basketball coordinator, and some referees. Referees are always a challenge. One of the things, Guy had talked to someone from Island Senior Resources, and apparently they did a participant survey recently of their members. And the number one thing people wanted was the ability to hang out and play cards. So we're looking at transforming this room a couple days a week into either bridge, mahjong, or whatever the game of choice is. We're gonna get a nice little coffee pot there, coffee and cards. So I think that'll be a very simple
Limit, you're there and there, playing no limit. Money flying out.
once the coffee starts pouring, maybe you don't know what's going to
Solve all our budgetary woes.
or one of the two here. Pickleball continues to go well. They're currently only upstairs at the gym because they've got a Christmas thing going on at the community center. So, but it's heated. The heat got fixed there, so that's a nice thing because that was a real issue for a while. Futsal's booming, real popular right now. They're trying to actually control the numbers, but to deal with people on course. One of our K-9 nose work instructors, has resigned. It's not gonna be teaching classes. But conveniently, we have another instructor unrelated step up and want to start teaching nose work classes. So, we're gonna have new classes on Saturday, starting in January, which is great. And then save the date, the triathlon date has been set for July 20th. So,
It was early,
yeah, I don't know. I've been around long enough to know.
really. Okay, well, let's just get that done. Do you need volunteers for the polar bear plunge? How are you doing on that?
It's a great question.
Mhm.
Are you doing the fun?
Mostly the 4-H team ambassador do a good deal of it, but they probably do help, especially with like registration and fueling money.
Yeah, and it's mostly the 4-H group that does most of the work. This guy does some of the logistics, I think. I understand.
It's
Very-
money.
Right.
Yeah.
You do money.
Quick question about, and this will relate to what we talked about later, I believe. Basketball and futsal extremely popular court space availability. How's that working out right now?
Fine. I mean, you can never have too much gym space. I mean.
I mean, I thought the futsal's expected, was taking a hit because they got more players than they have.
Yeah,
It's just time to play.
Yeah, same thing with pickleball. I mean, if we had a whole other gym, it would fill.
Yeah.
2 more gyms. So,
I'm just asking because basketball notoriously, when that kicks in, that requires, a great deal of usage. So
we're using the one elementary school,
The South
the
Campus.
South Campus, thank you. So that's a lot of the stuff will go through there and then the community center.
Unfortunately, the North Campus gym is not available. It's kind
not
of
available at all. Yeah. So the South Campus gym, old community center gym, being utilized,
Yeah,
both gyms.
I think you'll be able to use both gyms.
think
There's
so.
been some work being done on,
I'm asking this because I'm on the steering committee as well, so I want good information on
Yeah.
where we're at right now with
Yeah.
the ability for us to program with those gyms.
I feel, I mean, Gail at the community center has been very clear that she's let the sky kind of fill the spaces. So I think, while more gym space would certainly be used, I don't feel like we're turning masses away. I think there's a nice balance of futsal getting the time, pickleball getting the time. Everyone knows basketball season's gonna have, kids need to play, so they're gonna give priority for a season. I think people are okay with that. And pretty soon we'll have these brand new pickleball courts out there.
Yeah.
Well, some forms, so I think we're doing okay.
I asked that because futsal wasn't quite as popular years ago, and we had a lot of basketball teams. Our population was bigger, but we also didn't have futsal at the same time. So that was the question, big question I had.
and he also does volleyball.
Right.
Wow.
I saw adult basketball and volleyball as well, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of.
Rural gym, getting busy.
Yeah, unfortunately, pickleball is a lot of hours.
A lot of people. Facility and grounds, Tom already talked about the septic drain field issue. It says the minivan was detailed last week, actually, it was supposed to be detailed on Friday. So when I sent this to you, it was supposed to be done, but it got bumped. So the minivan has some kind of mildew, there's something going on inside of it. It's just never had a real deep cleaning, so we don't see any seal issues. We don't see any clear water getting into it. We're gonna get it detailed professionally and see if that helps. So anyways, so I think done.
Biggest problem is the moisture level here, shade. This time of year, it is just damp. I'm gonna stop. We have the same problem with the old van. We got the free van years and years ago and the bus. I mean, it just doesn't get used that much, so it's not dried out.
Really curious to see if this works and if it would help Vanna, because our van has same issue, so.
Yeah, it needs I mean, they took the seats out of the minivan because it was unusable. They were just using it in the summer pretty much for, because it was drier in the summer. So we'll get it fixed. It's an important van because, staff do a lot of running around back and forth to places. So, chances when your performance evaluation was done, from what I understand, performance evaluations is something that haven't been done for a few years, so we've started doing them again. With new staff coming on, it's gonna be important for them to have that feedback, so. You had a chance, well done. Often a chance did some work out at Lone Lake, getting the park in shape during the quieter times. And his crew is also putting up new signage. We have updated dogs on leash signs. We have a newest equestrian sign out there at Trustland, so that we clearly are marking the trail that the horses can go on. And then there's a few paper signs out there that just needed to be nicer. So we got some nice metal signs, took down some of the signs that were up there, laminated kind of signs. So the signage on the trails was being updated.
On that, the guys went out today and installed 4 6x6 posts with the new directional.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's just one of
It
the,
looked real nice.
that's not kind of the signs, but it's kind of a weird project. So, yeah, they'll go out with like 4 at a time and knock those out.
Yeah,
Just
good.
kind of chip away at it. It's kind of a warning thing. You kind of have to dodge the crowds. I mean, it's crazy how busy it is. So,
Well, we had to double the porta potty service out of Trustland already. We asked for once a month service, and it was obvious that wasn't enough. So it's a lot of people still going out there even in this weather. So that's good.
But I've been stopped at least 4 or 5 times a week. People commenting on that property. Just positive feedback, and yeah, and then, they'll tell me I brought this neighbor, I brought this friend, I brought this person, I brought that person. They brought 2 other people. So,
It's a nice one.
Does that parking lot ever fill up?
oh yeah.
Thank you.
Little parking lot. One of the director's report, we changed the name of the new position we're hiring to an administrative assistant 2, which is funded in next year's budget. It's open right now. We actually have closed it to the first reviews as of yesterday. We had 20 applications. So yeah, so staff will be rating those applications to select a pool of applicants to interview. And those we're looking for January 8th is the probable interview date for those. So that'll be great. The contract with the Department of Commerce, the grant, this is as a reminder, this is the grant that's funding the second half of the design phase of the aquatic center. It's due any day. They gave me a 2-week window, and Christmas Day is the end of the 2-week window of when we'd be getting it. So expecting that any time now, so we can get that signed off and start building against those funds. That's important. Staff and I are starting visiting some pools. We went up to Oak Harbor on Monday. Jay and her team gave us a great tour. Really detailed, really took our time to, we're not talking about the mechanics as much, although we did talk mechanics. We're talking more about the administration of the pool, the office work, the programming, the staffing. So it's really interesting. Jay and her team did a great job of just really making us feel welcome. So we're going to get a couple more before we're done. Just a learning curve continues. In your board packet, this is more of an FYI, was the current committee assignments. That's a January agenda item. We'll be talking about if you guys want to switch committees. We'll just be looking at the committees, and just you guys can decide if you want to keep the committees as they are. Do we need to get rid of some? Do we need to add some? Yeah. So for your packet, it was just there so you have some time to think about it before the next meeting. Carrie and I had a series of meetings this week. One of them was with Chanyi Accounting Services in Langley. The discussion was about the possibility of her helping us with payroll, taking that portion off of Carrie's plate. We got an initial quote, which we haven't really had time to dig into, but it was a really interesting discussion. This next part has been completely blown up today, which is the Jim Nelson discussion. Here, as of let's just say, I'll get into it a little bit. Today, we have a lot of interesting meetings. One of them was about the financial audit. So we're supposed to start an accountability audit the first or second week of December. We were told, because of the bond ratings and needing to do that we needed to switch it to a financial audit.
Which is more comprehensive.
Which is more, yes, much deeper, a lot more to it. Okay, but we have to do it. And so we started moving that way. We were working with the CPA, Teresa Johnson. We're working with the auditors to set a timeline because we have to get through this financial audit for the bond ratings to give us our full ratings. They need this. That's part of their review. So today, literally an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, we found out that no, they were wrong. It needs to be a 3-year financial So that just kind of slows us down a little bit more as far as now we have to go pick up 2020 stuff, and it's all moving fine. It's just a little slow, and it's just slowing us down a little bit. And the timeline that Carrie and I talked a lot about today, and we'll be talking a lot about over the next few weeks, is we've got to time out the money we have in our accounts versus how long it's going to take us to get the $15 million released from the bond. So we have to make sure that we stay on budget because we're still getting sizable bills every month from ARC. We also have an app service that they're asking us to consider tonight. So those are things Carrie and I, in the January meeting, we're planning to come back with a lot more detail. And here's where the money stands as far as the money that we have spent. Here's the money that we have, that we know we have from the bonds. Here's what we're projecting over the next few months. And we're hoping that by next month's meeting, we'll have a much tighter timeline as to when we really think we're going to get that funds released. So there's a lot of moving pieces. They're not settled right now. By January 17th, our next meeting, I'm hoping to have a much deeper discussion and have a lot more information. So yeah, it's an interesting, the other thing about a financial audit that they prepared us for is the auditor. We had a meeting with the auditor this morning. She said it's extremely rare in a first-time financial audit, they don't find something. She goes, it's, you know, accountability audits are much more, not superficial, but they're much lighter. She goes, the first time you have a financial audit, she goes, it's almost unheard of that they don't find something. The issue with that is if they find something, that's an extra 2 or 3 weeks to go back and forth and yada, yada. So that's okay. I mean, it's like I said, in the big picture of schemes, it's just a few weeks, but we kind of all want to get this moving along so that we can get that money released and keep going. So January, we'll have some more on that. We met with, Carrie and I also met again, a series of meetings with Allison from RCO last month, talking about the pickleball grant, because that's kind of coming towards the top of the list now. We'll talk more about that in a second, but basically where we stand with the pickleball grant is we have to do a cultural resources survey. And so we hired a consultant to do that. It was under $5,000, so I didn't have to bring it to you guys. So a company is starting January 5th to do that. And so once we get that done, we'll hope to have the design team shortly thereafter. So we get the RFP. I was hoping to have it out this week, but we had a little delay. So I'm hoping by tomorrow or maybe early next week after Christmas, we'll get the RFP, and that's for the design of the pickleball court. So we're going to get that out for bid and hope to get that going, early in 2024. The hope has always been to have the courts open by fall of next year. Obviously, there's things we can't control. We can't control permitting. We can't control some of the things. But if we can get the design bid out now, here back in January, start having public meetings and people have some input as to what they want to see. The pickleball courts is the one thing that's the low hanging fruit as far as we've got the money. It's a pretty straightforward project. So anyway, so that is moving forward. Looking forward to getting that going.
And a bunch of people will be using it the day that they're going. Yes.
Yeah, 6 courts will seem like a lot until they show up. It'll be great. That's why I'm really hoping to get it. Yeah, if we can get them by early fall when the weather's still nice.
That'd be awesome.
That would be ideal. So just, there's just things out of our control as we've learned from other projects that we've done. Last thing, we met with Deanna Gregory from Pacifica, the legal issues in the bond. Nice thing is Deanna has worked with Jim Nelson quite a bit. They know each other. So those two are kind of tag teaming as far as they're going to do some training with us in January. Just making sure that legally we're doing everything right. So that's all positive. And then it's a big report. Couple things in January, the bullet plunge. We also have the comp plan open house coming in on the 9th. And then of course the regular board meeting, which I guess is also tied to an annual board meeting, which I didn't throw in there. Carrie had kind of explained to me that next month is also the annual board meeting, which is where you decide your committee assignments. That'll be happening next month. That's a lot.
Can I just mention a couple of things? So I'm going to be out of the office from January 17th, which is the next board meeting, for about a week. And then also in February, from February 26th to the 31st. Just so you guys are aware.
We're not calling her, we're not even me. I told her I wouldn't. I had my fingers. Did
they give any idea of the term duration, sorry, of the financial audit? Is it a week? Is that?
It
It said 2.5 weeks.
was gonna be 2.5 when it was 2,
That's a good point.
so it probably will be
That's a good
more,
point.
I imagine, if it's 3 years.
And then after that's done, then there's another 2 weeks beyond after the actual report to be created and generated. So then when their work takes about 2.5 weeks or longer. Now that
But
they're,
if they're finding the extra,
they said a finding is about a 2 to 3 week ad.
But it's likely it's gonna overlap your absence, the first one.
Oh, yeah.
yes.
We talked to the auditor about that, about what can you give us as far as common things you ask for? What are some that we really kind of, and she was very generous, like, yeah, we can give you kind of a cheat sheet of ideas that we'd be asking for so that Carrie and I can work together to kind of make sure we're ready. Because the only thing, we talked about this today too, the only thing we can control in this audit right now is how quickly we respond to their request. So if we wait 2 or 3 days on a request, that's 2 or 3 days we're delayed. So that's the one thing we can control. So Carrie's going to give me a nice tutorial about where everything is, and I think we'll figure it out. It really.
And I can do minutes.
Okay,
on
great,
the
so that's
17th.
January 20th.
If you give me the template.
That is this.
All right, moving on to committee reports. Do we have any committee reports? I know we're gonna talk about the pool later on.
Are we talking about school?
Yeah. On the item. Next, unfinished business.
Okay.
Trying to give an update on where we're at right now.
Well, I'll give a minor trails committee report just to say thanks, Tom and the crew for all the work out there at Trustland and with the signage that, remember we did that. I don't know, it was a year ago, something like that. We did the map. We walked through, messed it up about 100 times and then finally got it sorted out. And that's the only thing people say is that, the first time or two out there, they get a little confused and, get to sort it out. But there are enough twists and turns and intersections and that kind of thing. So I think it's a big improvement in the grand scheme of things. So, and, it's, to me, it's another reminder what our visitor and public comment said about accessibility of Trustland trails. When that accessible trail was built, it was the only accessible trail in Island County, and I think that's still true.
Interesting.
So the idea to put it there it's unique because of that. And if we decide we want to put that memorial there, it's the place in the park that anyone can get to.
And the spot we found, and Tom was paramount in finding a spot to propose, was easy to get to. That was the discussion, was can someone in a wheelchair, someone in a walker, someone who can't walk easily. It actually, so it'll be an interesting discussion, Jen. We're looking forward to it.
I think other than the ADA maps that the Island Beach Access puts out to the Clinton Beach and the Maxwell and the Robinson Beach, I think those are the other kind of public ADA trails.
I didn't know they did that at Robinson's.
Yes,
They
right.
they just pulled it up a month ago, so they can pull them up. Well, the Rotary volunteers pull them up, but they pull them up for the winter. So they're going away for the winter.
Not so much one of our committee group, or I don't know where it would fall, but I happened to be listening to the Island County Commissioner work session today. And they were discussing sort of their process for the comprehensive plan, for the county. And they're, kind of dividing up the work into different segments, and it looks like they're going to be tackling parks and recreation, basically like Q2. I don't remember if it was April or May, but somewhere in there. And I think at least one or a couple of us should participate, listen, be something.
That was the last comp plan was the one that county and the Parks and Rec section decided they didn't want to do active recreation anymore. Right? So that's when they started looking for people to take facilities that were, you know, like Dan Porter Park and, you know, those kind of places where that's primary use is active recreation and focus on their trail properties and
Their comp plan or our comp?
their con.
Yeah, comp plan.
So to your point about being engaged with it and know that, you know, there's consequences and outcomes like they got a bunch of park properties that they're gonna wanna offload to other people.
Right.
So it'd be good to be engaged for things like that, because who knows, maybe they decide now they wanna be in active recreation. And
Or
because people are demanding pickleball courts from the county or whatever it is, and then they're gonna wanna, you know, we wanna be at the table for those kind of things.
Or if they stay in their current mode where it's about passive recreation, then at least we can be there and say, okay, what about access? What
Yeah.
about ADA access? What about other kinds of access? South Loopy should not be the only place on this island that has that kind of access, so.
That's a good point. I know, Commissioner Bacon, they were talking about, redoing the boat launch at Robinson's maybe about 3 months ago.
Mhm.
They had a brief discussion about it. And I think they're gonna keep that ball rolling. Sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, the only boat launch is Bush Point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Possession. Or 60.
Oh, I guess possession too. Okay. Possession of,
That's a long haul.
it is long.
They brought up the incident with the plane crash and how responders could have gotten out there a few minutes earlier. Not that it would have mattered in that case, but they could have responded
Yeah,
quicker
sure.
had they been able to use the
Yeah.
Robinson's boat launch.
I think that's the only reason that.
Yeah.
Was even in play.
Yeah.
Probably were ready to let it go. It's one of the best launches around.
Yeah, you get, it's a battle there with
It's missed.
Fed and.
All right, I'm getting started.
Yeah.
Are we, good with any of the committee reports?
It's,
Said
Has
there.
anybody heard anything about the dock access at your lake? I mean, that chunk of concrete's just
Getting lower.
sitting there for a kid, like, I'm just waiting for somebody to trip and break their face.
Anything from,
Just that they responded just to say that they were looking into it on, I think,
right, that was the last meeting.
yeah, what's happening since then. So I think
I was talking to Brian about this. I saw something the other day out of Oregon, down on one of the beaches, and the lady was walking that trail and came to a wood bridge and stepped on it, turned around to say, "Hey, be careful, it's really slippery." Fell and broke her leg. Got it. And a lawsuit, and the city or the entity was, okay, we have recreational immunity. Oregon Supreme Court said, no, you don't. And so there's gonna be something coming down the pipe on that. They were basically saying, well, time to start closing your public trails.
Mhm.
And so, like, I look at your lake, now I think it's so dangerous. You
A
know,
little different than your average public trail you're talking about where you have accept a certain amount of liability. That's one access point in the,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
and so, like, up till now, I mean, you've been covered with recreation, unless, you know, there's a potential hazard.
It's a safety issue.
Yeah, so if you know there's a hazard and you do nothing about it,
Yes.
whether they look at it and go, well, that looks unsafe, but they fall down and break their leg. We're in trouble. And so, I don't know, maybe we go out and we work it off, caution tape,
Yeah,
do a bunch of stuff.
I have to go back to public perception. Perception is that we have
Yeah.
control over that, regardless. And the fact of the matter is the kids and adults are constantly going out there. So, you know, you get above and beyond the legality of it. What is the right thing to do at this
Yeah.
point? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or that's gonna happen, yeah. So.
Right, I'll do whatever you guys want, but I mean, that little story in the paper, I went, holy smokes, that's really scary. Cause I've already been called to court once for recreational. The open air skate park here, sitting in front of a judge is not fun.
Can you find that article again? Can we send that to Eric's boss, and Belinda, and it's been,
Sure, yeah,
There we go for it.
it's been, yeah.
it's
It's
been
about a month.
over 60 days since we've met with them.
We've got fishing season coming up. April.
Hey man, tomorrow's the 21st. As far as I'm concerned, summer is right around the corner. Okay? We have more light every day starting tomorrow, so we need to get ready now.
And I, yeah. And I did, yeah, it was about a month ago, right before the last board meeting that they had reached out. And I think there was some pressure coming from above on some of the, Fish and Wildlife as far as expectations, but I don't know that anything's happened. And, yeah,
And
and I think it was, I forget to mention at one of the last board meetings, it's the perception of people thinking that's a South, and these are our people, even if it's not technically our park or our responsibility, they are our residents, they are.
it's a safety issue.
It's a huge situation. Yeah. Yeah. So,
All right.
Yeah, maybe the potential liability will light a fuse.
yeah, we'll pick that up.
Moving on to unfinished business and comprehensive plan program.
Well, we talked about a lot of this, part of, we talked about the first part of this with Jim Nelson. Also found out and didn't really understand the difference here, but, we need to hire a commissioning agent by mid-February. Commissioning agency is, an agent is basically, an engineer firm that kind of works as a buffer between ARC and the builder. Apparently this is not just a request, but it's actually a new state requirement. It's kind of a project. It's not, ARC said it's around a $30,000 contract, so it's not huge lift, but, it needs to go out to bid. So I need to put together an RFP, and, ARC's goal is to have it on board by the end of February. So from our perspective, I'll have something in front of you by February with, a proposed candidate at that.
What is their role as I get down this road further with ARC and, you know, people doing the work? It's like, okay, so what is this role exactly?
Yeah, well, and I actually call a few buddies of mine that have done some major projects and they had never heard of a commissioning agent before, so it was a title that they hadn't heard of. So, but basically it's an engineering company. That's what it is. That can look into, get deeper into the woods. They're technically, because we hired them, there are advocates in the process.
Are they looking for possible liabilities and buildings,
Yes.
that kind of thing?
Look into, yeah,
ARC is already doing.
I think these are more professionals. I think is the idea. But, Paul made it very clear that this is no longer a suggested good practice,
Yeah.
but it's the state
Yeah, it's not
requirement that we have it. Just to make sure that there's deeper, more professional line looking at all the specs and all the things that could go wrong, so.
Are we looking for somebody a commissioning agent who specializes in aquatic
Yeah,
development? Are we looking for one who specifically works with recreation districts?
well, we're gonna put in the aquatics portion as a preferred, as a priority. What hurts about this is that we have to go out to bid because ARC has 2 or 3 companies they've worked with many times that they trust that have done these kind of projects. We know they do these kind of projects. But we have to go to bid and we have to make it fair, so we have to give everyone a chance. But we certainly want someone who's done, aquatics, has worked in these kind of buildings, has looked at these kind of systems. And then some of the things we're doing are unique to, some of the mechanical stuff that's going in this pool is different than a lot of the common pools. So you also have to kind of vet that a little bit to see if they work with the saltwater, they work with, all these different things that we could have. So anyways, so that's part of the RFQ. We'll put it together and, lots of things going out to bid these days.
And it's not just the pool, it's a water system and a septic system that's
So-
completely different than a city. Where you just hook it up to a water line or sewer line.
Oh, that's what I
Well,
said.
So who gets the permit?
Oh, that's part of the system. The ARC and that team
Okay,
will work through all of the permits. They've already had a pre-meeting with the county.
okay.
I sat in on that and just going through that whole process of where we're gonna need the county's been very positive at this point as far as the hurdles they think are happening. But this very different than like the campground project. This is part of the job.
And one of the things when we did the RFQ for the architectural services, one of the criteria was performance during the build phase. And ARC, the core team of ARC as the architect and aquatic design group with the San Diego-based company that the aquatics design. That core team did Port Angeles in 2017. And their executive director, his quote to me was that is their expertise. They earn every penny in the actual build portion. Like that's where they're really good. You'd think they'd be really good at the design part too, but anyway, so he said that their biggest challenge was dealing with the funds, was them, because they had a non-voted bond. They had federal money coming from the Community Development Block Grant. They had state money coming from the LWCF grant. And so they had to do federal accounting rules on, dealing with labor costs and reporting and accounting and audits, and state, same kind of thing. And they they hit their similar thresholds to our project. So it was in the 20 to 25 million range. So all those auditing requirements and accounting requirements were what the district was really focused on. And he said those guys did everything, like they executed. So I would say just as a 60,000 foot, that part of it, I wouldn't worry as much about. What we're focused on as a steering committee is getting the design right and ready to go, making sure that something in there didn't get missed, because that was his advice to us. Port Angeles executive director was just look with a sharp eye at those kind of things. And,
I actually thought about that very thing, that their track record, right? That comment you just made. That's why the commission agent for me seems still out there. Like, okay, now we need one more enemy.
Yeah,
this is what
and I think what Brian said, I think is correct. Like as I've gotten more familiar with this stuff, the state has contracting requirements that are based on the experience gained over thousands of projects of thousands of different types, right? All over the state. And these things there's all these splices that you need to stick something in based on that process, that state process. So to hear that report, and I'm not familiar with this, but to hear that report from ERC, it's just something we have to do. Sure. So the question, to Krista's point, we got to make sure we pick the right one, so that they're not coming to us from a city experience where they don't have any idea about rural systems, water systems, septic, any of that. Like those kind of things we need to be attuned to make sure that we're making good choices with those types of people. So.
And then the last thing about the aquatic center, and this was good news. I asked Jennifer, she approved. We're going to start inviting ARC quarterly, probably, to our board meeting. Somebody will virtually follow. Just a chance for you guys to interact. It won't be a big presentation. It'll be this thing, but also a chance for, while Matt and Eric give you guys the decisions you guys are going to be making are going to get bigger and bigger. As we'll see tonight, the numbers are going to get bigger. And so just give you guys a chance to interact with them a little bit. So that'll start in January. Then the campground, no movement on the campground. I talked a little bit with Krista and Jake before the meeting. I think we're just going to have a separate campground meeting. I think with all of the big items going on right now, the campground's in real jeopardy of kind of falling through the cracks again, just because there's just no time to deal with it. So I think we're going to set a time to chat that through and see how we can re-strategize prioritizing, because we have about it, it seems like a long time to say we have a year until that money runs out, but we're going to blink. Summer's here apparently tomorrow. So
is it you were talking about winter work out at Trust Line? It's the kind of stuff to like that footprint, in that lower loop area. Is that the kind of thing that can be done in winter, or is it not?
County gets reviewed.
The county says.
Right. But I'm saying in terms of the actual work part.
Well, independent. Yeah, I mean, it could be, we hire the right contractor to get in there, they're gonna grub that out. They can get that whole road base out. I mean, it's a simple project.
That's just
got it right through the county.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I don't remember it being wet, like any of that.
Yeah, I mean, we went out the other day. I honestly haven't been on the loop, and for a year, and you go out there and there's two huge trees that came crashing through. And I'm not in a hurry to go clean it up because you know why, you know, but you know, we could drive it year round. And so, you know, it's a little, there's a little roll to it, but it's dry.
Yeah, good.
The wet spot on that property is the lowest corner behind the practice football field. I think that lower corner, there's actually almost like a little wetland buffer.
Below the trail.
Yeah, below the trail where it turns and goes up, that very far behind the practice football field. So
That is, I want to make one more point. I'm Marty's still in the meeting. A report from the Parks and Aquatics Foundation. They were doing private fundraising for the project for the equity fund that we talked about with the community in a lot of these public meetings. They had a goal of $100,000 to raise in 2023, and they doubled that. So they cracked 200,000 in private fundraising to seed that fund. I think the total objective to fund it is something on the order of 700, but anyway, and they're working on a capital fundraising, basically a strategic plan that I think is going to be discussed in January to set the path for 2024. Yeah, really good successes there. A lot of hard work happening with the foundation board and the subcommittee that's doing the private fundraising. So, and that's the community stepping up too. So.
real quick on that note, when we were doing our walkthrough up there in the pool, we were looking around at different things. We were looking around different things, and the one thing that Jay mentioned, he asked what the white apples are.
Oh yeah, no, in the roof.
So they got white baffles for sound. I said,
And light.
and she said that one of the things they were picking around, did you catch this? I'm sure they were talking about maybe getting those to be donors. Like a donor thing on the baffles
Oh, nice.
that were hanging. So
That's a unique place to.
yeah, I mean, it's just, it's a wasted space, but she was talking about doing donor,
But yeah,
like a donor tile, but
Yeah.
anyway,
as we're working on design,
but it's something.
It's come up. We definitely talking about
There's gonna have to be a policy, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah,
for naming rights that has been brought up and stuff like that, but for donors like that, maybe.
Oh, it's a
In the
nice idea.
dead space that's doing nothing other than catching sound. But maybe that's just, that'll see your.
Oh, it's a nice idea.
you can see it while you're doing backstroke.
I know.
Yeah. All right.
Well, that pool, just as a little anecdote, that pool, if you swam in it 10 years ago, the water was always kind of murky, brown. And you never, you were grateful there was a pool there and it only cost $3. Like, I'm not going to complain about it, right? And we went up there for the tour a year and a half ago. Marnie and I, Jay would just come on, I think. And water is crystal clear, like it's like the pictures of the Greek islands. It's blue, just as blue as can possibly be. And they put in these new filters that they're sand filters. They're not the greatest filters in the world, but they're brand new. So, and they got, good new updated pumping system. I'm like, you guys did the right thing with this mechanical system. And the guy was walking around with a Shane, who was on the city council. Yeah. Oak Harbor City Council. I can't remember his last name. Hoffman. Just ran for mayor. He's a maintenance guy for a while. So he goes, has nothing to do with the filters, nothing to do with anything in this pump room, none of it. I'm like, so what'd you guys do? And he points up at the wall, right where you were talking about the baffles. They painted the wall blue. Used to be yellow. Sunlight reflects off the yellow and refracts in the water and turns it brown.
He told me the same thing.
They painted it blue. I swear it looks like the Egyptian sea. It's the most amazing thing ever. So those are the little subtleties we got to pay attention to in this.
Shane on our tour, he was plethora of information
I got
and a great resource. He said, don't hesitate to call with Julie, their business manager, and Carrie were able to have a long conversation.
Yeah, Shane, he's been the maintenance guy there. He's been on the board there.
Yeah.
He's worked in the city council there. He's and it's completely connected into all the history, all the sordid history of that place, and then their comeback and
He's eager to help us. He's made it very clear, just you guys thriving helps us. That we can share resources, share all the other things. It's a win-win, so he's very anxious to.
And they also have a contract with the Navy, MWR, and they have a contract with Oak Harbor School District.
Yeah, we talked about both of this.
So you told me in the state, schools have to be white. And I go, well, why is it look blue? Same thing. He said, when you're picking colors.
Exactly.
Oh, and he goes, look where the lights are pointing out. Like,
Yeah.
where the lights are shining, but the rest of it looks blue. Yeah, and so he said, I mean, that was one of his recommendations was paint your walls light blue and you'll get that.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing.
I bet in a lot of artistic renderings, they want to go off like a wooded type of look
Yeah.
too, which is gonna defeat exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, on to new business.
Well, unfortunately, Sky's not here for this part because this was going to be a lot of him talking. Sky is sick, so I'll just give you the highlights. As you may have noticed, we're on Microsoft Teams tonight. We're not on O2 anymore. As part of that switch over, we're going to be getting rid of the woodbe.com emails. Not getting rid of, people can still send emails there. If they send it, it'll be forwarded to your SW Parks account, and there'll be a reply to the person who sent it saying, please change your contact to this updated email address. It gets complicated when you get two different emails for everybody, including staff. People send it to woodbe.com. The other thing about the woodbe.com is that we don't have complete access to it. We have to go ask permission if there was a public disclosure request, if there was anything like that. It's not under our control. It's, we have access to it. It's just not immediate access. So this will be a lot cleaner as far as how we do things. The other thing we started looking into, and probably next month, maybe February, I'll come back with some more information. Some of the public disclosure stuff coming out as far as what's required versus what's best practice. Things about something as simple as the commissioner using a personal phone to make a text. That's the district business, or a personal email to do a district business. All that stuff, we're kind of trying to figure out what are the have-tos, what are the best practices. We'll come back with all of that. And that's where the idea is, if it gets too complicated in all of this, the option of buying tablets for the commissioners so we can communicate easier. Sky pointed out that to do the Microsoft Teams, or the swparks.org on your personal computer, you might have to have a secondary Outlook account. Sky can work with each of you if it gets complicated, because this is what Sky does. So anyways, so the only big change for you guys right now is just know that your woodbe.com emails and then start forwarding to your SW Parks. Make that your primary for your district email.
We have the column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5.
Yes.
At
SW Parks.
no, at woodbe.net.
Yes. Yes.
Right now.
And all of those are going to start forwarding to your SW Parks. So that'll become the primary, and Sky will write a response so that anyone who tries to get hold of you, that won't be turned away. They'll just be redirected to say in the future, please email this up. So we won't lose any mail, so just be cleaner. A little bit of a transition. Tom's got a transition too, so it's going to be, that might be the hardest person to transition. So anyways, Sky was going to go much more into detail, but those are the highlights for now. The two major.
From a commissioner standpoint, I would say, when I'm at work, a lot of times things are time sensitive and it's very difficult, to be in multiple platforms.
Yeah.
And so I try really hard to be on top of it, but on the same token, if it was linear in any way, getting away from personal email is really tough. It is because of that very reason.
Yeah.
If we want to have a meeting or there's something that comes up, how do you do that in an efficient way?
But where it gets complicated, let's say I work at the bagel factory and I send an email, district business from the bagel factory. If someone does a public disclosure and says, I want everything on a topic that I emailed from that email address. Now, I have got to go to the employer in that case. Bagel factory, I'm using that as a random example. And they now have to, show these emails that are coming from a work center, or even your personal one, same thing.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to figure out, what the actual I don't think it's, it's just common practice, and those are just all, we're working a lot on policies. We're hoping at end of Q1, maybe early Q2, they have a lot of policy discussions about new policy changes. And those are the kind of things, it's just best practice, but I totally get having 3 or 4 emails or having a second tablet or a third phone or.
I say that for the benefit of the good, I get the cause, because like I said, I've tried to move everything in my private email. I don't really like it being in my work email at the same time, but on the same token, where am I at?
Yes.
A good percentage of
I
the
get it.
time.
I get it. I mean, it's practical common sense, but it's just making sure everyone's aware of the consequences that could come. Like big thing is a public disclosure request, right? Someone comes up and says, I want this. Well, now that impacts whatever email you send it from. So if you send it from a work, personal, that's just one example. We'll get into all that stuff. And Sky will get over his bug and we'll be able to talk more intelligently because he really is our tech guy that understands the behind the scenes stuff. So nothing much there. Just an FYI. You just want me to keep going? Can we go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Comp plan. Let's chat a little bit about this. So last month we talked about sections 2 and 4. You guys' input was great. I made those changes where we were talking about facilities and locations throughout the district. The goal here is to start looking at the looking forward section, which is actually the section of what we're planning to do over the next 6 years. We're not going to have a detailed conversation tonight because we're still getting community feedback. We got about 367 responses on our survey so far. So the responses have been good. And we're having the open house. So in January, I'll present some of those findings. And then as a board, you'll need to decide if the amount of information we have is sufficient, or if you want to extend it longer so we can continue to gather information. That'll be part of our discussion. Our current comp plan runs through the end of February, as a reminder. It expires March 1st. We're not going to be closed down, but it does impact things like grants and things like that. So we do want to make sure we're moving forward and try to get it done timely. So the current goal is to come back in January to review the feedback from the surveys, decide if the feedback is sufficient. If it is, then February's board meeting would have a draft of the comp plan, and then March we vote into improvement. So it's a pretty quick process. Ideally, I would like to spend another 6 months kind of marinating on some things, but particularly with the passing of the aquatic center, comp plan simplifies a little bit because we've got a major project taking up half of the comp plan. That's gonna, it's hard to add a lot of stuff when you're building a $27 million facility. But for tonight, if you look at the current comp plan.
So quick question, can we attend the open house on the?
Absolutely. The only quorum issue is if 3 of you are here, you guys can't,
Talk to you.
yeah, basically, the open house format's not a presentation format. So if you're around the room talking to other people, it's fine, as long as it's not, sometimes those morph into a presentation format if there's people who just want it. But yes, absolutely. Love to have you there. So this is from I'm going to show you some things from the current plan just to kind of get your juices flowing. This is the needs assessment tools that were laid out in the last plan as far as how information was collected. And I highlighted the first part, which was public input directly to the board and its staff. So basically an opportunity for you guys to kind of share. We'll give you an opportunity in a bit. If there's anything you kind of want to share that you feel the communities would want to see in this. Then there's other things that were laid out last time as far as surveys, the need assessments, public input to the master plan, the public input, which would be the meeting we would have drafting comp plan, public input. But the goal tonight is to kind of look at the last one, kind of see what was accomplished, what wasn't, and then let you guys kind of speak if you think you've heard from the community or have opinions as to what they might want to see. That's part of what we're trying to gather here.
Will there be time to review with user groups and key stakeholders?
Yeah, I read that today. I'm not sure. Yes. It's just prioritizing through those.
Just thinking like our guests tonight,
Yeah.
or,
Yeah, what we did last time is there's a sheet in the back of it that said, these are the stakeholders that we provide a copy. So we had gone through somewhere around this portion, or in this point in the timeline to say, who are those people we would put on this list? Who do we think would want a copy? And then once we came up with that list, then we started handing them drafts and communicating with them that we were working on it. Hey, do you want to evolve, that kind of thing? So that list was probably worth taking a look at. Pretty comprehensive. It's got almost everybody, stakeholder organization on the south end and not even across the island on it. But anyway, that was the method. And it was funny because we would send it out and, 50-50, like the first, half the people would get it and said, why are you sending me this? And the other half would be like, why didn't you send me this sooner? So like it was good. But I think now, having gone through that, they all have a copy of ours from 2018. So it's not as much of a mystery. I
They
think
would each person individually in part of that stakeholder group, right?
we handed it to the Port District, to the Langley City Council, to the soccer club, to the football
So they're
club.
making
Yeah, and
they're in.
some of them were, their eyes glazed over, and other people were really interested in it.
And maybe that's a step that we have. Right, it's on another month, which is fine. I mean, you don't want to rush it because it's a 6-year plan. You want it done well. So here are some of the things that are looking forward from the current plan that has another couple months in it.
Yeah.
And I kind of put on there, with the help of staff, what's been accomplished from the original plan and what wasn't. Obviously, we had a pandemic in the middle, so there's a little bit of mercy for things that weren't done. But you see the first one, the goal of this was improving community park structures, facilities, and trails. And a lot of good things were done, like we got the roof done this fall, castle parking, playground, the parking lot was just expanded, crow's nest interiors, field retaining walls, parking improvements, pavement overlays. You can see on the right several things that were goals of this current plan that haven't happened yet. Obviously, the crow's nest elevator we all love. Bathroom renovations, campground's an issue. Basketball court overlay, which is something the staff and I have talked quite a bit about, because that basketball court needs a little attention as far as safety goes. And so anyways, I won't read through all of it, but this is kind of.
What is the adult fitness, outdoor fitness station, TRX?
Yesing, I don't know, right? Yesing is the kind of thing where you put like a machine in the park next to the playground.
Where they rotate and
Oh,
outdoor.
interesting.
Yeah, they're like
Push out
football, like-
workout stations.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fully cool. That's what I'm asking.
Well, remember who was it that came with the parkours on the soccer complex side? Was that wasn't the county, was it? So that loop, the fitness stations there was some input about, creating some outdoor stations like that. And so I think the fact that was built is the intent of that has been met by that just hard course.
Green Lake has a few of those.
Yeah.
When they're running around Green Lake,
Yep.
I lived there about 10 years ago, and it was at the time maybe a hair. Yeah, maybe four little stations.
Yep.
Yeah, push-ups.
Yeah, so I would say we did accomplish that. And then we should look at, do we want to expand that? Is it good enough? Do we want to do it different?
That would be a really awesome thing in the path around the pool. Yeah, you know what I mean? Could it be controllable, could have the environment, and be just some pretty neat stuff that.
That's a real common around playgrounds. They have those kind of little exercise machines where parents could sit there and
Sure.
do something while they're munching their kid. Okay, good. I'm just trying to give you an overview so you kind of get the juices flowing for kind of what the goals were, maybe what we're looking at this year. A campground, obviously, I said it created an initial road system, basically Tom Dicker's excavator. So counting that, but obviously the campground, we don't know. Enhance the athletic fields. This is where they talked about synthetic turf, some of the irrigation systems, the drainage systems. The development of a connected trail network to link parks and communities. This is where the Trust and Trails Discovery Challenge Loop was done. Max Walter Road, obviously done. Couple things that didn't happen yet. We're still discussing. Enhance the lake properties. You can see a lot of those things were. Obviously, those are not our decision purely because those aren't our property, but 6 years ago, those were on the list. Hey, develop an aquatic wellness center. So the development, the SD, the DD is just about done. On there, the amphitheater, we got to initial design, you know, it's not an active project. And then in the comp plan, it mentions community center, gym, tennis courts, archery range. So those were some of the things going back 6 years that the commissioners were sitting around and the public was getting their feedback, and these were some of the ideas that came out of it. So I guess from your perspective, obviously we're building a pool and we're building pickleball courts. We're building a campground. Any other thing from the community, anything else from you guys' opinion that you think should be a priority in this comp plan or should be an area of focus?
No, you just highlighted one of them. When we were we came out of the 2008 bond measure. We were talking about the aquatic center in that round. We went out to the community stakeholders and we got feedback that said you need to include a community center and a senior center, right? So it was clear that there was a need for, indoor spaces for activities in general. And then you see the community centers in there, the gymnasium thing, the idea was in there. So what's included in the layout of the aquatic center property is aquatic center phase, which is phase 1 in the ARC lingo, and then a phase 2, which is a connected 2 covered multi-purpose course of double gym side by side, 60 by 120. And that's where this elevated walking track, you go in the schedule YMCA, that's what they got. Walking track upstairs gets a ton of use. So that rough by the square footage calculation for ARC, that roughly speaking is like 7 million plus or minus. The one at Central with the Boys and Girls Club, they went to Congressman Larson District 2 for the community funded projects last year's budget, and they got 2 million to build a single gym in the federal budget. So when I called and talked to them, we had applied for that for the Aquatic Wellness Center twice and didn't make its final cut. They can nominate 10 programs. We didn't make the cut, mostly because we weren't anywhere near. Now we're a lot further along. And they indicated that they might be receptive to that kind of thing because they also see a need for indoor facilities for people to do programs at the time of year and be active during the times of year when it's not so easy to be active outside. So anyway, that's the thing and we get this feedback in almost every meeting. You guys get it as a staff, Sky gets it a million times, so to me, I think there's great utility personally in getting to that phase 2 somehow, figuring out how to come up with that kind of order of magnitude. The average award in the CFP process with our congressional district is about 2 million. The other programs in our RCO grant, availability, there's probably another 2 million in there, and those could be, matching. The CFP from our congressional district doesn't require any match, but it could serve as the match for RCO. So, in terms of that, if you look at the turf field is the other area where we, obviously it's become been an ongoing issue for decades. That is about a $2 million project today. And there's a couple of grants that we've talked to who could fund a significant portion of that. This Cal Ripken grant fund, I talked to them about 6 months ago and they said, yeah, they do half. I come up with the other half. So to me, in terms of like the big capital things, like those are two that seem to have the most return on investment for the community. And so anyway, so for the first one, the layout of the property and the design on the aquatic recreation center includes the space for that, and it doesn't overlap the buffer to the newly designated wetland. So it is laid out and built for us to add that at some point in the future. So I think we should have that as a clear project so that then when we're going to the state, we can show the comprehensive plan. And then we can show the drawing that shows here's how it's going to look and all that stuff. We're way further down the road because of that. And then the church, we have the layout, we got the positioning, and everything has been, because we put it in the grant application for local parks. So we've got enough to go seeking money. And I think we can write it into the comp plan that way, that we're ready to go, and then use that as leverage when we're in looking for grants. Just to say, hey, we got design concepts, it's all been vetted, we have a need. Help us fund these things.
And just to clarify, Coopville, Boys and Girls Club, because they physically built the structure, they have a greater chance. That's how they were able to have a better chance of obtaining that.
I think I don't know the state of their project.
Because they just built it. I mean, it's obviously new. And so that's why.
I think it was initiated with the funds that they got from CFP. I don't think they had funds before that. I think that $2 million award, that's last year's budget. I think it was built with that money by itself, because it's a single court.
Oh, is it a single?
I think it's a single court, right?
Are you saying they built it already?
I think it's in progress.
It's in progress. No, what I'm saying though, is they already had Boys and Girls Club with Center built, and now they're adding the gym.
Yeah, they didn't have a gym.
So
Yeah.
much like us, we have a swimming pool
Yes.
complex. So now we have a greater opportunity of saying, hey, this is part of our master design in phase 2. We want to build this phase.
Yeah.
And we have 6 years. I mean, it's a 6-year plan. I mean, obviously, we're building a pool for 3 years. The thinking, it's a long time, 6 years.
Well, and you could run across a private donor who says, I want to do something meaningful and memorable, and you say, hey, if you had 5 million.
Yeah.
The
Gym would be a game changer for programming for the kids.
I would agree with Matt in terms of prioritizing the gym, and because of where we're at in phase, being able to secure 27 million, I think that's the next step.
Okay. And I broke them into 3 categories. I'm sure you all took the survey already. Yes. So you notice in the survey it breaks into 3 categories. One is programming, one is indoor facilities, one's outdoor facilities. And I won't tell you what the results are, but they're quite interesting so far. Let's do not skew the results, but any other comments about any of those 3 areas that you think based on your?
I'll just say a couple people have mentioned to me having some sort of additional space for dogs. Just more and more families have dogs, and they need a place to go with their dogs.
Are you talking about a class, or are you talking about just off leash park?
I think kind of all of the above,
Okay.
quite frankly. I think it's supporting families and supporting them where they are, right? So some need training, others just need a place to go. And it's kind of getting to the point where, like, I don't think they're going to let you move onto the island unless you have a dog. So, but it's just like, okay, so, and if we're looking at user groups, right, we're looking at children, we're looking at seniors, like dogs are a part of that and a part of people's lives. And so I can't say I have a specific place in mind or an idea.
I have some ideas.
Like, and I, saw in there like maybe some sort of agility course, but agility and an off-leash park or something like that. And also, I don't know if this is the place to bring it up, but can we come up with some policies that would allow for some off-leash use? So like on the Max Welton trails, Because pretty much everybody who's using that trail with the dog doesn't have them on leash.
All I know, I've got all the complaints.
Right,
And when they can't find him, they find her.
right. Some sort of, how about you can be off leash until 8:30 or 9 AM, whenever school starts. And after 4 PM.
I'll have that, I can have that, we're gonna come up with policies. I'm gonna be out a lot, I can have that to
You
discuss.
know what I mean? Like when when the school isn't used, when there are kids in the, absolutely not, you know, but.
Sure.
I don't know.
The only thing from my perspective, it's all or nothing. That's time.
But I think it's like, if you're able to say, hey, there is a time.
Well, I have enough problem with signs everywhere. When I approached the guy just this week, we've had a lot of coyotes, really brazen coyotes.
Mhm.
Here's the guy with his chucking stick right by the woods. And his response was, "Don't worry, I'm packing."
Okay.
So
That
I'm dealing with a whole new group of people that have moved here that are very hard to deal with. That's all I'm gonna say. They're very hard to deal with. So from my perspective, I mean, again, policy discussions, but
Right.
consistency makes it easy. There's no exceptions.
Sorry, I'm a dog guy, but on the same token, I also like to jog and run. And when you hit a dog straight on, I don't care how well trained that dog is,
Yeah.
and you're clipping around the corner,
Yeah.
that's a whole different experience. So,
Absolutely.
for me personally, I kind of balk at that a little bit because, as Tom said, it'll be all or none. Once you start saying the designated time, I think it's a great idea
What about,
in theory.
what about a designated place? Like,
That would be
we've
better.
been trying for
Way better.
forever to figure
Yeah.
out 5 acres.
Bow Lake is that place.
What about,
Right now.
what about the
Yeah, well,
5
like, so-
what about the 5 acres?
Oh, man. Putting a whole bunch
Are you
of
talking about
dogs right in someone's backyard,
The 5 acres of.
and you have no access.
Only
You're gonna have people that are. you're gonna
How
have
about
people
the,
that-
how about the other side of the trust land trails, 40 acres?
Yeah, once we get access.
I thought Love Lake was on. me and Tom were out there.
My only point is that all those new people,
Love our space.
they're coming here for a reason. They want to live in a rural place. They are tired of city rules,
Yeah.
right?
It-
So if we can say, if we can meet them halfway and say, you know, yes,
Well, here's the other thing.
you know, here's a space, here's a time, we are giving you what you want. But not during these times when there are children, run, what, you know, to kind of understand where they're
So
coming
this is
from.
a really good spot for someone to go and talk to Patton County. Because a place like Dan Porter Park is an off-leash park, but designated that way, maybe outside of baseball season. I mean, it's, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of properties out there that would be great.
And that could, you're talking about engagement, kind of, like I said, to me, like the place idea as a way to find a middle ground is easier for me than a schedule.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, everybody.
There needs to be more.
It would be nice. It would be
It's on
nice.
the list. That's
That,
it.
that now with us. You know, on our signage, hey, if you want an off leash, here's the option.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's what I try and do.
Yeah.
You
Right,
know,
right now, there's one.
I would lean more towards a designated spot versus a feature. I just feel like there's gonna be some people that are gonna say, no, that's my walking time. I'm not gonna go with dogs running around.
But I
We're gonna
hear
push it
that.
for now.
I'm just saying there are designated spots. There's Marguerite Bronze and there's Double Bluff Park and there's Green Bay. And there are still so many people.
Yeah. I want them to, they have to care. And there's enforcement's really, I think our staff, I was shocked at how aggressive our staff, not aggressive, but I mean, Sky will get up and get in this car and drive over to the park and have a conversation with someone. If Tom and his guys are gone and, you know, I think our staff take it real seriously, but there's no, pardon the pun, but there's no bite. It's a lot of bark because, you know, by the time you call anyone to really enforce it, unless the dog is being aggressive or hostile. I mean, it does become kind of an enforcement thing. You can trespass them in the park.
Well, and the guy will ask me, what's my fine? I mean, he was being very aggressive.
Hey, to change the tone just a bit. And I think it's in our packet, it may be, but the letter that came in about the disc golf.
Yes.
I mean, I'd like to put that out there just because high school and middle school both does disc golf extensively. And kids get into it, and I'm not saying this just for the benefit of kids, but I just think Whitby is ripe for it, and it's one of those things, much like pickleball, that in terms of overall cost is not super high, but participatory and giving an avenue for another section of people to participate, just like when we talked about pickleball. I just think you build it and they will come. It would be something.
It's all ages. I was gonna bring it up too, like,
Yeah, it's multi-generational.
it's affordable, but yeah, you need acreage and watch out for discs.
Yeah,
but-
it's in this comp plan, and we went up and toured, there's one in Mount Lake Terrace that's behind the rec center on the far side of it. That's a forest course. It's completely isolated. And then we went toward the one in the Skagit, Mount Vernon Park, that's up on top of the hill. And that's in an open park. Like you're laying out on your picnic blanket with your, pretzels and your sarsaparilla.
Yeah, here comes.
And
here comes
some
the-
disc comes over your head at about 1,000 miles an hour. And those things are brutal, like
Yeah, yeah.
regular frisbee.
No,
Yeah,
I'm with
those things. So that's why in the comp plan, I think in our earlier discussion, we said that was one of the other ideas for that 40-acre spot on the others, the rest of the trust line trail.
Across from trust line.
That's locked, yeah, that's landlocked, or I don't know what the access is right now, but anyway. We're trying to identify like what things in our plan would benefit from having a dedicated property, like could we convert Dan Porter portion of that into something, could we,
Yeah, Porter would be great for that.
yes.
What's one of Oak Harbor's, the one that's run by the city, I believe, or it's in a city park.
Yeah, the soccer.
Fort Newton.
When they come around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have, their course is interesting, and the first half is through a wooded area. And there are people running on the outside, so you do need to look both ways before you throw it. And then you get to kind of a boring area, but it's easier to not be in harm's way with people, because it's just on the perimeter of their soccer fields and whatnot. So they've done a little field like that. It works. But then
Yeah,
they opened up a second one up there. I haven't been to it. It's private. And then
Yeah.
there's a pro shop in the bowling alley. We're at Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played a number of courses and they go around the perimeter because it's unused space.
Yeah.
So it's inside a running area, but outside the park area where you're doing other activities. And it just seems like we have a lot of potential places, whether albeit, its own acreage, we may not have to go to that extent. And you could see it start simple with 9 holes versus 18. But the cost is so minimal. I just,
You may have noticed in the vouchers that Sky bought more portable disc golf nets. He had a couple. So now people can come and check out during off hours when soccer's not going. They can take them up to the park and set up their own course, and it's a good chance to kind of gauge interest. But Sky just bought, I don't know how many more he bought, but some more. So people can do.
so he's loaning an individual set to people.
Yeah.
This,
I mean, that's a project. I know. We
yeah, a movable thing.
You gotta want it.
No, I get it, but still, it's a setup.
Yeah, you gotta want it.
So he's setting up. If somebody's actually setting up 9 holes, or are they doing like?
No, they're doing that. I think he started with just like a couple, didn't he? Started with just like one or two.
We had, I think this was our first purchase.
Oh, I thought he did it last year.
No, I believe this is, I believe it's our first.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
And the plan
So
is.
people come check it out.
Portable.
Yes.
Yes, I
I
don't.
think it's just, yeah. I thought it
I'm
was
just
one.
curious, because
It's like our pickleball nets, people come and check out our pickleball nets
yeah.
and stuff like that, but.
When I thought it was just one, like go out there and practice. set it
Yeah,
up.
I mean, it takes even a while to do that, because it's not an easy thing like to set up.
Be a lot easier to just do one. Okay, so disc golf is on the list. Anything else, feedback wise, is things that
Or parking.
parking?
We need to add parking, like the other side of field 4. And everybody parks right now. That was an area that I had bid out year and a half ago. And I don't know if you guys have all seen what we did behind the Castle Park,
Mhm.
the way that came out. Nothing but good feedback on that. And, you know, I just kind of want to continue to add because we're getting busier.
And it's probably worth making like doing some math, right, on usage and times a day and that kind of thing to figure out where to spend money, right?
When
That's what you
softball
just-
hits in the spring, when softball's going, that whole road, you can hardly drive through there.
Okay.
And so, like, my idea is, you know, people are coming here for a walk. It'll kind of be tucked back into the woods, kind of along the upper side of that trail. It'll connect it right on the trail system, get away from. And so just, you know, stuff like that, I'm always looking,
Up
you know,
above the skate park.
no, but below and across on this side of the road.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
just coming this way.
Below the where the amphitheater was.
Yes, yeah, and then like the other place is pickleball. I mean, when that pickleball court, we're gonna have to have part.
Do we need more bathrooms? Good question. But if there are all these more people and more cars.
Yeah.
Where are they gonna go to the bathroom?
Say that the Crestland trails, porta potty got heavily used.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. It'll be interesting in the summer.
So. Do Trestle Trail need restrooms?
Well, there's no water, there's no power.
Yeah, that's it.
That would be a very expensive building and a septic and a water system. That's,
And within community park. I understand that the bathroom renovation was on that list. Do they need to be expanded?
Looking at Tom because he knows the field.
If-
As far as the use.
If the-
Spring and summer.
If we're seeing increased usage, if we're expanding parking to accommodate more people. Wouldn't that be the next question to ask?
Well, it's on the list. Okay. I'll go ahead.
The system is what needs to be updated to accommodate. So not so much the restrooms, from my experience, they're never.
Okay,
yeah, I like that.
Going down
I like
the
that's a line.
okay,
But
but
the
the,
volume of.
Yeah.
Effluent. Our ability to handle it.
And I mean, a sports complex bathroom. Was. Undersized from the start, in my opinion. When it was built. And we have some limitations on how many people not only park there, but how many games we can have on Saturday,
well, and now there's gonna be pickleball.
you know?
That's
We've had pickleball there for a couple years, seasonal,
more,
absolutely,
so.
absolutely.
Any other thoughts? This is brainstorming time, so here's got a good list started here.
Yeah, I think another question I get asked about is water access. We talk about water access in the existing plan and it's a tangled web, right? It's Port District, it's state, it's us, it's county, it's
It's private.
private, it's so.
Land trust.
So I think one of the reasons why the comp plan has that inventory of parks is because one of the feedback items in 2016 was everybody associates any park they see with us. Like the fact that the county owned Dan Porter Park, no one had any idea. Dave Mackey Park, no idea of the county thing. Like, right? So we said, well, we need to know what parks are out there. And I mean, I remember we brainstormed, we wrote down, and I think we wrote down like 20 parks. And I think at the end, the list has like 100 on there. Like we had no idea, right? And so that was step one. You look at water access, right now, you ask 10 people, they'll give you 10 different answers. So I think like there may be an opportunity in us trying to like sort that out, simplify that for people. I mean, they, like we picked up the lakes, like now I think will have a higher, I mean, the lakes are at a higher quality than they were before across the board. I think they get more use and we get more positive feedback. We also have challenges, but generally, I think the public is better served. Right? So is there something we could do that help expand water access for people? In a way that, like, maybe we don't need to own things, maybe we don't even need, maybe we just need to be a facilitator, maybe, you know, we need to sign on a line saying, okay, you parks people on an MOU or something, I don't know. But to me, that's a topic anyway, to look at that.
I think it's a great topic, and along those lines, I was thinking, can someone dedicate, let's say they live at Deer Lake and they have some property, you know, and they believe in park and rec, they
Yeah.
believe in public usage, and they say, you know what, I want this to go to an entity. Because I think if you put it out there
Yeah.
in that kind of format, that you would get that. Like, I'm a.
Well, you have,
Labor and
you have an agency in the Parks and Aquatics Foundation that could receive that as a donation and request. So, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Anything else? This is good. Good input.
Maybe more tonight.
Yeah, we're about to talk about your item next.
Yeah, seriously?
Yeah, your trail. Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
I gotta go walk up. Open gym. I'll be right back.
Okay.
So you can push that one off.
I can talk about it without you. That's questions.
I'll be right back.
Be interested to read all the responses.
Next month will be interesting. We do find the response.
Let's see. Let me say one more. So on the trail thing. So last time we were in the comp plan, the county had this strategic plan to do the bridge to boat thing. Right? And that was going to be the interconnect pipeline and then the artery, and then all these things were going to connect to it. And then they changed board members, commissioners, and they said, we don't want to do it anymore. Pieces of it have been built along the way, right? The Coopville one, which is quite lengthy. There's one in Oak Harbor now that's pretty lengthy. But we've gotten feedback when we did the open meet or the public meetings last time. Like, can you guys do something? So that's why we had, if you look when we built out the project outlines for those projects that are in this comp plan, we showed us taking that center corridor from the ferry to essentially to the district boundary and say, could we improve that enough that public has access to it? And that's where the connector from here to the highway was all about. And then it would pick up truss line trails. It would pick up, pick up truss line trails, then pick up the lakes along the way, Deer Lake down there. And people could get from Freeland, Clinton, and Langley to a park and home on a trip. So that was the idea. We took it to the state because the state highway 525, that there's an easement 80 feet on either side. I think it's 80 feet on either side of the state easement. Maybe it's 80 feet total from the center, I can't remember. But the state owns that, Department of Transportation. You can apply to do something in that right away as an entity. So we could say we want to prove that on the south side or the east side of the road from here to here and organize volunteer parties and clean it up and get access to it. That was kind of the idea. And they said, you just need to write a proposal to us and we'll approve it. And then if we decide we're going to make Highway 525 4 lanes in 100 years, then we're going to pave it over. Too bad for you. So that was, and I'll wrap it up this way. We had gone for grants because there's trails grants in RTO. And the problem is that you have to commit to those being public in perpetuity. And if you're in a right of way, like a county right of way along this road or a state right of way along Highway 525, and they pave it over 20 years from now, you have to replace that in kind. So you have to say, okay, well, they could get from Clinton to our intersection up here before, now it's paved over. So we got to get them there some other way. We either got to get easements from all these property owners, let's rebuild the trail, or we gotta come up with some other way to recreate the public benefit, and it gets really complicated. So for that reason, we pulled back those grant applications and realized that this, because of that complexity, it's not well suited to grant money. So it's more, could we come up with ways to make this thing work, you know, organically with our own resources or volunteer resources? And we had several people come and step up in public meetings, say, yeah, you know, I'll organize, we had the kayakers, Whidbey Island, not Whidbey Island kayaking, but the kayakers group, John Lovey and all those guys said, we're hikers too, we would help. So we had, you know, tens of people offering to, but just to give a little context in that, I think it got the highest rating in the Capital Flynn survey in 2019, the Interconnected Trail Network, but it's the hardest thing to actually pull off. Just because like when they built the one in Oak Harbor, because of they got federal money to do it, the cost per mile was some astronomical number. Like it was like $8 million a mile to pave it, to have the offset from the highway, to have the protection, the barrier and strip to make sure that, you know, that safety is addressed, to do wetland mitigation, all that stuff. Said the cost was, you know, way too much to bear if you didn't have public money, which you couldn't get because you couldn't guarantee its access in perpetuity. So like I said, it's got to be something more creative than that. Like, let's clear the brush and let's borrow somebody's got to, you know, whatever. So anyway, so that's
The city of Langley, their park coalition, they're interested in partnering with us if there was a trail from community to downtown Langley. Potentially campground. Someone said campground more than just a shoulder to get to Langley.
Yeah.
So there, I think it's Emmy Gunn. She was interested in talking about that in the future, whatever.
And especially once the aquatic center goes in.
Yeah.
like you said, it's the kind of thing that we would need to get. We could have a huge impact, but we would need to get super creative.
Thank you very much. Good input for your things again.
Yes, I love it.
Okay, so Tom wants to hold on this.
No, we're gonna, I think we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna move on.
What is it?
Where are we at?
New trail?
Mountain trails.
So, Tom walked me out there. The proposal is this. As you can see, it's about 290 yards, a little under 290 yards. Right now, the trail, comes off Maxwell till it goes out, and then it kind of splits off here. We went out there and kind of looked at it. If you can make a simple trail here, about 290 yards, what we're trying to do is encourage more people to park over at that school lot. Because you guys will notice, I mean, all day, people are parked right in front of Maxwell, in front of the trail, which is nice. They're using it. The hope is if we put a connector here, add a little sign there with some direction, add some doggy bags, because apparently we go through a lot of doggy bags here.
Yeah.
It would kind of loop it so that we'd have a complete loop, encouraging people to park there, making this feel more like a trail entrance as much as this one is.
So that basically comes out, isn't that like that dotted line that goes from there? Isn't that like along the fence line?
Yeah, it's behind, it's off the fence a little bit, but it's wide. It's
It's wide and you
Jeep
kind of
trail.
come out, like, you kind of walk along
Yep.
Island Shakespeare and then you kind of come along the
Yeah,
fence.
there's a split. There's really two trails there. There's
Yeah.
one that's right along, and then there's
Yeah.
one that splits and goes into that middle intersection.
Yeah,
I think what he's drawing there is the one that splits left.
Yes.
So it's not the one that goes right along the edge. It's the
Okay.
one that splits to the left that's kind of overdrawn.
okay, got it.
But it's wider.
Yeah.
And
We do this internally. Tom will take his excavator out. It's something you do during the lower times, so the cost would be minimal. And then just Tom's time, staff time.
I mean, well, I guess it goes a little bit onto school property, right?
It would end before school. So it would be The other thing is that there's no residential houses here, because I know that's one of the issues with trails. It's a lot easier when there's no houses right there, so.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, though. It's very likely we'll cross into that school easement.
Yeah.
So we need to get,
Double check it.
we need to at least get the school, make the school aware of it and
Yeah.
see if they're,
I think that's a case of even if it's completely on ours, it's so close to them that as a stakeholder, we
Yeah.
need to include them.
So should we seek out the school before we make a motion?
Yeah.
Okay. That is something,
and has there been any attempt to market or do anything like that? Has Tom flagged it at all?
you know, we walked it, so he knows where he's going.
Yeah.
It's not, nothing's out there.
Just Jennifer, because Jennifer and I, as the Trails Subcommittee, we walked that, when we first cut that original trail, we walked it first. And so we would want to walk it, sort of with whatever, however he's marked it, to at least put another set of eyes on it.
Sure. So we'll set all that up and then come back. All right.
And then who is maintaining the rest of the tree?
Well, Tom maintaining our portions. I don't know.
The schools for a while, my kids did that.
Yeah, so they were built by the AmeriCorps volunteers, and since that time, the school has informally maintained them because they do some outdoor classroom stuff at the top of the hill and then around the backside of that very loop. So yeah, kids have kind of maintained it, and that was the original idea, was that the school would continue to use it in that way and that they would continue to maintain the single track network, but
Unofficial little volunteers?
yeah, no, it's something we should probably formalize.
No, they've also done some larger work parties. They've reached out to Naval Air Station
Oh, did they?
Harbor and got some volunteers from them. I know Ed Halloran, who's now passed, but who's part of Rotary. I know he was involved with some cleanup. So there've been other
Okay.
adult kind of work parties, but yeah, it would be helpful to know. And how can we partner with them on that? Because I think it's
I'd be a nice Rotary project to get
Yeah.
exercise.
Yep.
Folks once a month, take a walk through the trails, and
Yeah.
if they can handle the stuff that needs to be cleaned up, do it. If they can't, at least inform us.
Just as a form of volume, it makes sense, because as you get people going one direction and coming back the very same direction rather than a loop, you end up with more congestion, you know? So.
No, it's a good idea.
Outside of the parking lot issue, it's just gonna increase the flow.
Yeah, I think it's a nice idea.
Okay, good. We'll do the work and come back when we're ready to talk with the school district and have manager working on it. Get their eyes on it as well. So, all right. The next couple things.
Go ahead, thank you, Harry. ARC water.
Well, and this is our new life here, is so we're gonna have a lot of these kind of big decisions. It's got more complicated today because of the, well, first let's talk about the request. Tom and Davido and the RC and I, a couple months ago, went up and walked talked about the water access, which is one of the bigger challenges of the aquatic center. Went up and talked about the different options. Davido came back, DCG came back with a proposal of what it would take, just engineering wise, to kind of get the water flow. As you can see in Paul's memo, I think he lays it out pretty well. Where he says the design of the preferred water system option, as well as the housing for the equipment not contained, is considered an additional service. So this is above and beyond what ARC's contract is. In other words, it's a bigger project. So what's going to happen is we're going to add another whole other water tank up there, either 100,000 or 150,000. We're still working with different decision makers on that one.
Up
Right next to the one that's
next to
currently
the
there.
existing one.
You know where the service road goes through?
Oh.
Probably there's all those trees from the service road
Yeah.
towards the tank. It'll sit, there's a kind of a little to the middle.
So there's just a lot of work to, they're gonna have to house a new pumping system, and, then it's gonna come down, as you guys saw in your packet, down to the park. There's some talk now with the fire marshal about whether the generator can be. Initially, the idea was we're gonna have one generator that's gonna be down by the pool. And now they're thinking we might need to have a separate one on top because the fire marshal is concerned that pressure is not gonna be strong enough, but it's coming from above. A lot of those things are still in mind. It has nothing really to do with approving this. Basically, Davido's ready to do the work to get this done. It's part of the design phase. It's $135,000. At this point, it's work that needs to be done. The caveat I'll throw into all of this is, Gary and I have to be very mindful of the budget in the short term because can't write checks we can't afford until that $15 million has been released. So while I'm seeking permission to approve this, I won't let ARC start anything until we're sure that we've got the money in place to cover the check, because we need to figure that'll be part of next month's board meeting where we're talking a lot more about that.
Well, just to this point, because Chris has already asked a question, I sent you a file. If you could pull it up in the meeting environment. I'll talk to it here.
Are you talking about the one with the breakdown of how much we have? And
Yeah, and I updated it. I just updated it. Just sent it to you 20 minutes ago.
oh, okay.
This should be our most recent email. You got it. I sent it to you too, okay?
I'm seeing.
Did you get it?
Fire suppression.
I can join the meeting and I can share it.
Yes, I agree.
I don't seem to have it.
This, it sucks.
But you do that and I'll stop sharing.
Do you have the,
Second.
did you send a meeting link?
Yeah, and exactly that.
With no pressure.
It's on the
I think you're not salting.
commissioner page.
Yeah,
or on the board.
Pressure there.
Hang on, I lost the connection. That's why. Oh, that's why. I lost the connection on my phone died. What's our, SWPRD conference room guest?
Yes, yeah, the Wi-Fi.
That makes it.
Yeah.
Okay, works.
There's a grab. It does exist. Yeah, I got it.
It was a good talk with him.
I just find that stuff really interesting. How would you have done this 40 years ago?
So while mine's looking that up, I'll say that we talked about the trail. And the decision was that we need to move the school district in just from it to make sure that they understand that, it's bordering on their property. And we'll just invite Matt and Jennifer out as the trails committee, kind of get their eyes on it too, and then we'll bring it back.
Do you cross their property line?
So we would be connecting back in, so the trail that runs right down. That's fine.
Yeah.
That would basically be right there where it takes a right turn and goes behind. That's basically our property. That's where we would come through.
Okay, because it looked like from
On the drawing.
drawn there, it was the one that goes to the left, that split. You're talking about following the straight trail that goes along the fence.
Yeah, straight trail to the fence. You come to the end there, and there is a small little skinny one that goes back.
Yeah.
That connects as well, but our property basically starts right just inside that tree line. And if you were to go to the right, then it would take you behind the fence.
Yeah, you're just saying we would come
You
back.
just go straight.
Yeah,
Come straight to that point.
and so basically what we're doing is we're creating a drivable trail that you can hop on our machine and we can drive that entirely.
Yeah.
Do this,
That'd be convenient.
email comes through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back in business.
It speeds everything for us. So
Oh, heck yeah.
when we go back to do any work,
Any materials.
And you hadn't flagged that at all, had you? Okay.
We want to talk about it and same process as before, we would put in and we might have put a tag on in the middle of our property where it would be coming from that old logging road. But just like.
This is not the email.
No, that'd be incredibly valuable.
The one that I did would have just.
There's really no property.
It's just the last version.
These rest.
It's a long list.
Yeah.
It's.
Yeah, no,
Okay, so you can open that. You can open that.
But still, because it's gonna feed people to that trail that goes along the fence line of the school, still think it's worth.
No, sorry.
We're trying to make a better option for people.
Take that,
To have people stop parking on the road.
Understood.
Just have them parking, not parking.
Yeah,
G6
Just to-
plus
that's the
G7.
If people don't like them.
Yeah.
Yeah. See what's going on.
yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
G6 plus G7 minus Gina.
That's been the biggest thing for us.
I've seen it every time I go for a run, I see somebody parking there.
Oh, man.
Yeah, like
Yes.
it's maybe half the time.
Yeah.
You're just-
All right. Okay, so this is to get to the question on where we are with the ARC costs and our two funding authorizations. So the green is this schematic design first phase of the project. And the blue is design development, which is the second design phase of the project. The funding from 2022, you see in column F is 388 versus the total in budget and actual in schematic design. That nets out to essentially zero. So we paid for schematic design with that 388,000. 296 for the actual schematic design phase, and then there's portions of their quote called amendments and general services that Carrie drew up into schematic design to use all those funds, to use 388. So we could pay for them during schematic design. So you can see, we haven't spent all that yet. We spent another 97K.
Yes, so, but they're not done, like, they're still consistently billing
Yep,
against
yep.
SD
Yep.
and.
Yep.
Yeah, that was just our best estimate of when we would need the funds. at
Exactly.
the earliest.
Exactly. So you can see the funding for 2023 is generally aligned to fund DD. So that's the money that we still haven't gotten the authorization letter, but it's going to be here. That's 340.
349 is.
349.
Mhm.
So there's 349 now to be expended. So this 135 that's in the DD phase could come from that 349.
I don't think we'll have that. I mean, just looking at the real numbers today, Carrie and I were looking, I don't mean to interrupt you, but looking at the actual bills coming in from ARCs and the two that we haven't paid yet. There's about $150,000 difference, and that doesn't count the December bill that has to come in.
Yeah, so this is how we reconcile that. That remaining unspent in column E is 90, 147, 148,000, 150,000, column E, 4, 5, and 6. Right? That was the remaining unspent versus those SD budget line items. That's from your spreadsheet.
I mean, yeah,
This is
I wasn't prepared. So.
from, yeah, it's okay. It's from your invoice detail. You tab over to the invoice detail there. Like hit that worksheet right there. Oh, that was right there. So this is your calculation. From, let's see where you're tracking that 296,000 SD expended. And there's the additional services, the 20, the 10, the 56. So this is just drawing from your numbers.
So your bottom line up there, the 250.
Yeah.
That is now 590.
ARC's billing in about 100,000 a month.
Yeah, okay.
Right now, so those bills,
Well, so go back to your summary. So they are wrapping up what they're gonna come in January to talk to us about is including DD.
DD.
Right? So getting to a point, and then the next phase is CD, which is called construction documents, where they actually do the drawings, specs to hand off to the contractor
Right, and that CD and after that is supposed to come from
the bond.
the bond.
So.
But it sounds like SD and DD are gonna be overspent.
Yeah, I think, what we have to, and then
Over
we,
and beyond the grant.
Over and beyond the grant amounts, and we need to,
It looks close. It's to me, and I think by the time we get to January, we'll have this better buttoned up, but you can see we have the 349
Mhm.
plus the 388. We also have 100,000 from the Resilient Power System grant. And that's another letter that we gotta get from Commerce for them to allow us to bill against it. Those are design funds that are part of this. So there's actually another 100,000 on top. That's assigned to the design of the battery storage system, the generator, the solar array, and the connected, inverter and all the electrical components therein. So there's another 100,000 there. If you look at column H, roughly speaking, their total budget for the design was this column C. You can see another 500,000 in CD, and then 415K in actual construction admin, like running the project, right? So you can see it's about $1 million that's not funded yet. And there's like this extra 135 for the water system notwithstanding. So plus or minus, it's $1 million not funded that's gonna come out of the bond funds. This is what I talked to Representative Paul in his office after the November 7th vote. And so we are going to submit a funding request to them for 2024 budget due in January.
right,
And we've already drafted it and sent it to them to look at.
or how much?
Especially for the fund construction documents. So roughly 500,000. That would go to, and they have, each representative has some discretionary ability to fund and to include 200,000 in the capital budget. And we have Representative Paul and Representative Shavers. So that's where the 400,000 came from in each one of these years, roughly speaking. So I think we will have support for something along that order of magnitude for CD that could come more quickly. When did the authorization come for the first year in time? They voted in February, right?
I know.
Yeah, it's pretty sure the capital budget is signed out in February, and then it's us doing the paperwork so in terms of bridging this gap in time, because the bond funds are probably later, we're getting our,
Going to get through the audit.
May or June at this point.
Yeah, so it could be, so we may be bridging the gap between about February, March, and about June. And what the most reasonable sort of, from a time standpoint and from a size capacity standpoint is state capital. And so we've got to size this request, and we need to update what the billing from ARC, figure out where exactly we are. So we ask for the right amount, the appropriate amount given where we are on budget. And then go into it with the urgency associated with the timing. Because again, they signed the budget, the capital budget will be signed out. And at that point, we are authorized to expend the funds. You have to go through this letter issuance and sign a contract with the Department of Commerce for each one of these allocations. But better that it be spent than not spent. As you can see, we've had to go for authorizations and waivers because we can't spend it. So being able to spend it is a good thing. So anyway, so from a big picture standpoint, just think in those terms, that's the best place we're gonna go to get the money to bridge that gap, because otherwise we're gonna go into some kind of a pause.
Exactly.
Right?
Right.
And so
we gotta do some bootstrapping.
Yep.
For Q1.
Q1, exactly.
Got it.
So, well,
If
yeah,
I
there's,
can summarize.
I think there's two parts of it. There's long-term and short-term. Long-term, I'm fine. the 15 million is going to be there, the extra next year is going to be there. Hopefully this grant comes through, and long term, this is not an issue. 135,000 is peanuts in the scope of the whole thing as far as what needs to happen. It's all about timing, and all I'm saying is I'm still recommending that we approve the authorization to do this tonight. And just know that I'm not going to jump in until I'm sure of the short-term finances. This really is just the next few months we're talking about. And as Matt said, we don't want to have to hit pause. That's our goal here. And when January, when you know, this just all hit today. I mean, we met with the auditor this morning, the Jim Nelson thing this afternoon. Everything changed this afternoon too. We initially had a late March release date goal. That was what Jim Nelson originally gave us. And at that point, you know, bills have a 90-day due date. We were pretty much fine just to keep going. But if late March becomes late June, now we have a different conversation where we don't want to be delinquent and we want to make sure we have the money. So long term, this is just a blip on the radar, but it's going to take a little bit of just being really diligent with the numbers. Carrie and I are just having these conversations today that we're going to have to vet out much deeper the next few weeks.
Right, and the point in sharing this, obviously the numbers are not 100% correct. Their best guess is from a week ago, but directionally speaking, this is right. We're going to be short funding DD to some degree, not sure what, but it's not going to be massive. It's going to be, you know, 100K, 200K kind of thing.
Okay, so I want to clarify that. So if we're doing this as service, is this a DD item?
Yeah, it would be part of
Okay.
it.
So, I mean, that's 135,
135.
and we were already anticipating the 15,000 under.
Yeah, so it's
Also
150.
kind of a cash flow thing. Right, we don't get reimbursed immediately, so we have time and as the contracts are made available. So
And what's our normal, what are they saying
when
on
you're-
what kind of a net?
it's pretty quick if we have time to bill it, but we're also starting to bill against DD type funds. And so we can't do that yet because the contract's not ready.
There's just a lot of moving pieces that haven't settled. The second part of the contract, the timeline that we don't know now because it changed. And
Right, but I think where you're going is, I think that the shortfall is about 150K.
Yes, and so I guess I'm trying to say, are you going to ask for that additional amount?
So we
In
can't,
any way,
yes, so this.
in addition to the 500,000 or?
Yeah, like I said, what the principal ask is gonna be the fund CD and any remaining unfunded parts of DD. So if we say it's 150 because of this additional service of water, we'll detail that out and that'll be the base of our request. So we just gotta figure out before January, I think the actual due date is January 16th. So we gotta figure out before then what that shortfall amount is and included in the request.
and also remember that gets us through DD. But over the next several months, they're jumping into CD if they want to. Yeah, and so that's going to start costing. So if we don't get these funds, that's the dance we have to play. That we want to make sure that we've got the money.
We have, and that's where you get in the conversation about the pause, is you say, okay, well, we just gotta stop work for 90 days or whatever.
Okay, the other thing we'll have is before the next meeting, I'll have a conversation with ARC just about this, that, hey, they all know the money's coming. Like I said, long term, this won't even be a conversation. This is just, there's a process to getting the bond money released, and worst thing that's going to happen is, and that's not tragic, it's just a delay. We'll fight to not let it happen, but that's the worst thing that's going to happen. So we're not in bad shape. It's just.
So are you looking for a motion then on that 134,000 if the contingency?
I would still suggest that you authorize we're gonna have to do. And just know that I won't jump until I'm sure the money's there.
That's why I said contingency that based on funding.
And you have,
Yeah.
what's the specific amount?
135,525.
135,525. Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the ARC additional service request for water for 525. Not to exceed.
You read it, so I'm sure it's right.
I'll second.
Okay. So a motion has been made to complete the water supply to site add service request not to exceed $135,525. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Matt, I.
Krista, I.
Jake, I.
Eric, aye. All those not in favor of approving the 135,525 signify by saying nay. Okay. Motion is passed for 135,525.
What do you need?
Okay, I was absent for a moment there. Who made the motion?
Matt.
Now, Krista second.
Okay, so,
Well, happy New Year. It's now time to talk about 2024 meetings. Pretty standard. I made one suggestion, and a change, which you'll see in June. Juneteenth being a federal holiday, I think, it would be respectful to switch that off of June 19th. So, I'm recommending June 18th. It'd be hard for us voucher wise to move it up a full week or back a full week. So I think the only way to really make that work would be to switch the day of the week that week. I know technically we don't currently recognize that as a closure holiday, I think that's how you put it. But still, I would, just like I wouldn't meet on Veterans Day if we were meeting the second Wednesday. So anyways, that's my recommendation. Other than that, they stay at the third Wednesday of the month. So any discussion or comments on that?
I read, go ahead.
I would say, I think it works for me.
I was maybe putting the idea out there of doing the following Wednesday as opposed to the Tuesday. And I say that for a couple of reasons. Our ARC meetings, whether we'll stop meetings then, just that's my own personal calendar. It works better to do it on, I've kind of reserved for Wednesday, but
And I think the RC meetings will probably end by then, just because.
Yeah,
of
I was-
time. But we also can make the Thursday. Moving it back a week, I think would really mess up our
Okay.
vouchers.
just then,
So I think
disregard
Yes.
the comment. But if people are happy with Tuesday, I can do Tuesday.
I mean, Thursday would make sense, or Monday. Pretty much anything you guys want to do it.
I would stick with Tuesday then if there's no other discussion.
And
It's
if
pretty far out.
Sky could stick this in a calendar file
Yes.
and share it with us.
Yeah, this far out, that all works great for me.
Yeah, I don't.
April 17th is, or it really should be, holiday. I'm not promising I'm gonna be here.
2 days after.
No, my
Actually.
birthday.
Oh,
April
Oh,
7th.
that's good.
Don't get all on your birthday this year.
So we'll see.
yeah,
We'll have a quorum. We'll make sure we have a quorum.
yeah, just, the other part, so, I just want to do the motion to. approve the meeting dates.
Approve the calendar.
Calendar,
That's
yes.
okay. Agreed.
The board meeting calendar for 2020.
Since it's your birthday.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the proposed board meeting calendar for 2024.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's been a there's been a proposal a motion to approve the 2024 board meeting calendar as proposed. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Mr. I.
Big guy. Eric, aye.
Last could not be.
Consulting.
Not saving the fun thing. District policy, your policy, and the policy manual states that at his or her own discretion, the director may award a bonus of up to 0.5% of an employee's salary with an additional 1% available with the approval of the Board of Commissioners. Obviously, this was a challenging year for staff. I think all the full-time staff did exceptional work in keeping things together during the transitions. So I am recommending that in addition to the 5% that I am authorized to give staff. And when I'm talking about staff, I'm talking about minus me on staffs. There's 5 full-time staff. The 3 parks, Sky and Carrie. I'm recommending that the board match the 0.5% with a 1% bonus that you were authorized. This would come out of the 2023 budget, but wouldn't be given out until January when the next vouchers being set up. So, session bonus.
Yeah, I'm ready to make a motion if,
I'm completely in support of it. I was reading this, my daughter received a 3% bonus, right? And the look on her face, you know, I mean, just, it was deserved. It wasn't so much the amount of money that you're making a statement that we appreciate the kind of thing, which we do. I mean, I just think that duration of time, as I mentioned last time about Carrie picking up the pieces and doing so much work that goes above and beyond, it's the least we can do. So I'm completely in support of it.
Yeah, having worked in the parks myself and during the start of the pandemic, and just how incredibly busy they were and still are now. You guys are more than worthy of getting a 1.5% raise, so absolutely.
Bonus.
Bonus, sorry. You guys go.
You're gonna get me in trouble. Say that.
I'll make a motion to approve the staff bonus plan.
I will second that.
Okay, a motion has been made to, we should say to approve a 1.5% bonus for the 2023 year.
Full-time
Word
staff.
that in an appropriate way.
I think
Because it's
full-time staff.
representing-
Just say this staff bonus plan as written.
It's not a 1.5, it's a
You're
1.
already the- But we're approving the one, you're already, okay, sorry. My mistake.
I just say, my motion is to approve the staff bonus plan as written.
The motion has been made to approve the staff bonus plan as written.
There is a question.
Sorry, I just want to clarify this, because this will take place after this meeting, this will be in the 24 budget. Not in the budget,
Okay,
Just because of the time.
yes,
We should have brought this in November, but we'll smooth it.
exactly. So, just to clarify.
so we're in essence, we're just approving the staff bonus. Yeah. As written. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Krista, I.
Okay.
All those opposed,
You got it.
Eric, aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Okay. Staff bonuses pass. Or approved. And thus,
I got one other item. I just had made a note. You were talking about the stakeholder engagement for the comp plan.
Yeah.
You did, I thought that survey was fantastic, public. I think you could twist the survey and make a stakeholder version that we could send to all those stakeholder organizations that say some basic thing like, we're doing our plan. Do you want to be involved? Or do you want to just be informed?
Yeah.
If you do want to be involved, what parts are in, that kind of thing, maybe 4 or 5 questions. We get it out to all of them. And we're going to find out that there's a handful that really do want to engage with us.
Yeah.
Because I think, like I said, that survey you did was great. And
More information, the better.
Yeah.
More people that are talking and communicating, the better.
That's a good, quick way of directly communicating and cutting it down.
We'll do it.
Sorry, Al, but-
Yeah.
okay, there's
Real
no,
quick, one more thing.
Yeah.
Since I wasn't here, did you guys approve if we meet with school officials and they're fine with it, that we can move forward?
The next thing is Jennifer and Matt. As the.
If you guys just walk us through where we're talking about.
Okay.
So we come back in January.
But we can do it just.
Yeah.
Being
My window is like mid to end January.
Oh, yeah. Do it sometime between now and then.
So I just want to I'm on vacation till the 12th of January, so it'll be after that. So I just wanted to.
We'll bring it back on the 17th if we can get those things.
Okay.
Yeah, do it. Let's do it right when you get back.
And who do you want us to talk with the school? There is a new maintenance supervisor.
He's gotta figure out how it ends and how close it is.
Yeah, just.
I honestly think just a memo to them, letting them know that this is a proposed I don't do.
Yeah, I always think it was more like an Dan Coolman thing.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant. I would send it via Joe and Dan, just say.
Here's what we're doing, got any problems, guys?
So Dan's retired in June, he seems pretty checked.
That's why I think you're gonna get it.
Ladies like Georgia.
All right.
So
Is there any other business? With that, we are adjourned at 8:38.
I know